everyone. I hope you are having a good Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Thursday, whatever day it may be, as you are watching this. We get to start with a virtual puzzle for the first time in a while. I have quite enjoyed many virtual puzzles in the past, uh, but it has been a bit. So let us enjoy this. Uh, you may have heard there might have been a party today, but there's not, in fact, a party today. So you, in fact, get me today and Sunday as the theoretical party that I'm supposed to go to keeps getting rescheduled all around as people sort of bounce around every time I stream as possibilities. So fun with that. This puzzle, if you do not know how this works, we start with the puzzle that's most voted on. So this puzzle was voted for by the following supporters. So by Wisteria, David, Directionary, Chili, Russ, Luda, and Doomdiot. So thank you very much to all of you for your support. If you want to support the stream and get in on the voting, you can quite often sway it because there's often a multi-way tie. So if you really want to sway what puzzle we start the stream with, that will do it. Block Time asked what happened to the live set stream. Haven't done it yet. I still have it on my list of things I want to do because I want to get sort of heavier back into setting, but I don't quite have a crystallized enough idea of exactly what I want to do, and I want to at least have nailed down approximately what it is I want to do before I do it. And I have fortunately been busy with socializing and Balatro. By the way, any Balatro lovers in chat? Part of me kind of wants to just do a Balatro stream instead lately, but anyway, if you've not played Balatro and if you suffer from having too many hours in your day, I think for a mere $15, Balatro will make all of those hours go away. So if you are in that situation, that is an option available to you. If you've never heard of Balatro, it is a roguelike card game where you sort of simultaneously build a poker deck to try and make poker hands while also assembling like a ragtag group of jokers, etc. It is a strange game, but I think for me, I consider it the second best in the Slay the Spire genre. Broadly speaking, for me, I would say the top one is Monster Train. Still, I don't see that being unseated shortly. But then Balatro, and then I would consider Slay the Spire the third best Slay the Spire game in my personal list. Meme Rister, I'm sure, has lots of opinions about this because Meme Rister used to stream a lot of Slay the Spire back in the day. I don't know if he still does. I have not seen it recently, but also I only sporadically get notifications. So anyway, enough about that. For now, let us hop into this puzzle. So we have normal Sudoku rules. And then each cage is one of two things. It's either a killer cage, a look and say cage, or both. So if it's a killer cage, that would mean these 4 digits would have no repeats and sum to 26, which is very possible. Or if it's a look and say cage, then you read it as the first digit tells you the number of, and then the second number tells you the number. So if this were a look and say cage, it would say there were 2 8s in this cage. If this were a look and say cage, it would say there are 2 2s in this cage, which, spoiler, there are not. So we have that. For clarity, digits may repeat in look and say cages even if they are also killer cages. Well, they're not also killer cages if digits repeat in them. But that is okay. And then each cage is part of an island formed by 3 cages, all of size n, where it is possible to reach all 3 cages traveling only orthogonally through cages of size n. Within those islands, 1 cage is a killer cage, 1 is a look and say cage, and 1 is both. Okay, so we do need to sort of parse out this sentence. This may repeat in a look and say cage, even if they are also killer cages. Okay, so the double type, we are allowed repeats. Okay, so that's a little bit weird, but but we will try to make this make sense. Okay, so this is exclusively a killer cage. So we'll do that. Uh, it's like a double thing, Selena, because I'm both a mathematician and a Magic the Gathering player, and both of those things make people like incredibly persnickety about the way things are phrased. Over there's good. So this is definitely not a look and say cage because I can't put two twos in box one. So this is definitely a killer cage. Now this needs to be connected to 3-cell cages in an island, and the only 3-cell cages that I can get to are these, which means this one is definitely a look and say, and therefore this one is definitely both. Like that. Yes, killer is red like in blood. That is correct. And so that gets me 2 digits, I believe, because this has to be a 2 and a 2 in order to make that work. So we get to bring out Zach for the 2 dance. Woohoo! 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 Thank you, Zach. Thank you. So there's a 7 in here with 2 digits that add to 10. So it's either 179 or 469. Now, I don't think I can put the 9 here because I think there's always a 9 in a 22 cage. Yes, there's always a 9 in a 22 cage of 3 cells. By the way, if you don't know about this, the killer calculator here is incredibly useful. So there has to be a 9 here, which means there's no 9 or 1 down here, which means this actually is 4, 6, 7. So now this has to be a 22 that doesn't use 6 and 7. This is a 22 that actually... Okay, I could have done this in a way easier way that would have involved less math, which is I could have just said there's only 2 ways to make 22, and I can't use the one that involves a 7. That would have been cleaner, I think, than the way I did this, but in any event, this is a 5, 8, 9, and these are the other things. These are a 1 and a 3 for that. So could do this. Okay, so Kelly and others point out that there is a similar piece of logic with these 4 cages, which are all collectively part of an island, and they don't connect anywhere else. This one is definitely killer only because I, again, can't put 2 twos in it. So that means both of these are look and say cages. In addition, one of them is also a killer cage. But at the very least, I know there's a 9 in here. So the 9 looks up here and removes 9 from there. And there's definitely a 4 in here somewhere. We could draw a border around the islands. That's a good idea. I like the idea of drawing a border around the islands. Let's see if a black border looks terrible or not. That looks pretty terrible. I'm not going to lie. We're going to do it in... We're going to do it in blue because the border of an island should be water. There we go. So can do that. Let's see. These 3s assuredly are an island. These 5s assuredly are an island. And then these are an island. Okay, so we know what the islands are. It is worth observing. Okay, so... Okay, so this could have 2 3s or this could have 2 3s. Funnily enough, regardless, one of these 2 is always a 3. Sorry, one of these 2 is always a 3. Because if this is the one that's look and say those 2 are both 3s, and if this is the one that's look and say these are both 3s. Wait, how can either of these be a killer? I can't put a 17 in the cage. Okay, I think I don't understand the rules. Because I thought what it was saying was that one of these two had to actually add to 23. Yeah, but only one of these can be 689, right? They can't both be 689 because then they would both be killer and not look and say. And every island has uh uh one cage is killer, one is look and say, and one cage is both. Oh, right. Okay, got it. Got it. Okay, right, right. One. Okay, right. So neither of these can be both. Is the point? So this is the one that's both. Got it. Okay. So this is the ketchup mustard one. Okay. But still, one of these is look and say, and so in particular, either these are both threes or these are both threes. In any event, that's not a three, so that's a one and that's a three. Okay. And this has a 7 in it for sure because it is both. Okay. And then one of these is 689 and one of them is 3 3. Fair. One of these has 3 2s in it. So either those are all 2s or those are all 2s. Interestingly enough. Not in row 3, true. That's not a 7. Several people in chat point out because I have a 7 looking over, which is very good. Let's see. Okay. Neither of these are 9. So one of this mess is a 9. Oh. These 2s. Someone is interested by. Oh, this 2 says that this is not a. This 32 cage is not look and say because I'd have to put a 2 there, and that would clash in both of those. So this is just a regular killer cage. Which means that both of these are look and say, and in particular, those are 2s. And so then the question is, can I make these cells add to 32 minus 6? So in other words, can I make these 2 add to 26? I cannot make 2 cells in a Sudoku add to 26. So that is the look and say. And this is both. I did not block Sayori, I promise. Let's see. So we have okay. So Sayori's point is this can't be look and say because that would rule all of the 8s out of this. Is the point. So there would have to be an 8 there, and that would break this. So this can't be look and say at all. This is only this. Okay. So we've got all of that. Yeah, and so therefore this is always look and say, even if it's both. So those would be double 6. And so the question is, can these add to 14? And they could add to 14. Otherwise, that. And we know there's a 4 in exactly one of the... there's a 4 in one of these 2 cells, because this is also definitely look and say. And there's a 4 in this row already. So that 4 looks over here and actually places a 4 down there. That's fun. I like this. So we've got that. Let's see. By Sudoku, Laura points out one of these 2 is a 2 because there's got to be a 2 in this row somewhere, and it's in one of those 2 cells. Does this 14 cage, if it's real... Oh, it does not need a 2 if it's real. So this could still be real. Okay. Okay. Sayori has a complicated spot, which is why sometimes I wait to do Sayori spots until later because usually they're more complicated than I want to start with. But Sayori's point here is that if I just ask where 3 goes in row 1, then I know the answer because this cage sums to 28, and so if you just chase the digits, 3 is not one of them. So therefore, the only place in row 1 that 3 can go is there. And now you ask where the 4 goes in row 1, and the answer is the 4 in row 1 now has to go in this cage, which again, you can only see this with a killer calculator, but now means that this is from 4, 7, 8, 9, which then bounces back and now says that the 5 in this row is over here. So that's not a 5. And so that is 8 or 9. So now Sarah's point, and this is really sweet. These two can't sum to 14 anymore because if this were a killer cage, I would need these to be 12 plus 14. But the only two ways to make 14 are 5, 9, and 6, 8. And I can't do that anymore because I've used 2 8 9s here and 2 8 9s here. That's all the 8 9s for row 1 and 2. So this now is look and say only, which now means this is both ketchup and mustard, which is interesting. So there's definitely a 4 in it. Let's see. Okay, and it could be the 1, 2, 4, 7. No, this doesn't have a 2 in it. There's no 2 anywhere in this cage, actually. So just by Sudoku, this 2 sees all of those, and that 2 sees that. So that means this is only 1, 3, 4, 6. And the 6 is actually placed. The 6 is there, which then means the 4 is placed. So the 4 is there, which makes that the 1 and the 3. Very cool. So now there's probably more Sudoku to do, the dreaded beast. Let's see. So Selena asks, do we know digits don't repeat in the 14 cage? And I think the answer is yes if I read what I think the intent of the sentence is. But I am not 100% sure. So if Virtual can clarify, but I understand because I can't read the sentence literally because it's literally not true. But I think if I read the sentence the way I think it's intended, I think it is true that you're not allowed to repeat digits here. Oh, you can. Okay, so Virtual reads it Selena's way, so I should just leave it and not think about it. Which is fair. Let's see. Right. The 7, Todd's point is the 7 in row 1 is up here. And so this cannot be a 7. So we've got that. Sayori's correct. This now definitely only has one option because I need 2 digits that sum to 10, and I can't use the even ones, and I can't use 3, 7. So this is 1, 7, 9 is the only option, and I know that one's not the 7 for what it is worth. Okay. Let's see. Carl has noted that this cage has a 9 in it, and so if it has a 9 in it, it has to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, because there's no other way to do it, and that's the place for the 2. Hey, Jay. Hope you're doing well. Which places the 2 up here in this box. Let's see. Hey, Dorlier. I guess it's probably worth pointing out that the rest of this row is from 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't know if that does anything interesting for the 22 cage. I don't think it does yet. Just by Sudoku, there's a 2 in this 22 cage. So that's actually going to be pretty big. Oops. There is a 2. I don't know why this one is crossed out. Okay. There is a 2 in the 22 cage. And it needs 2 of 5, 6, 7, 8. So this one does not have 2 of 5, 6, 7, 8. This one does not have 2 of 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's one of these 2 only. It doesn't have a 9, actually, because there's a 9 looking down this column, Ron points out, and there's a 9 corner marked here, and neither of these are 9. So actually, through a very fascinating confluence of 3 Sudokus, this cage doesn't have a 9, so it's not that either. So it is 2, 5, 7, 8. Which means that this is not 5, 7, or 8, so it is 6. Okay, and that's not 6. It's 4 or 7. It means this is a quad, and this quad consists of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. These aren't 1. That's not 9. That's... Oh, sorry. This could be 9. Sorry, I said misspoke. That could be 9, because it could be the 9 for this cage. Now, this 23 cage can no longer possibly be real. Because if this 23 cage is real, I would need these 2 cells to sum to at least 20, which is not going to work. So now this is the look and say only cage, which makes this 3, 3, 1, like that. And means that this is the one that's only real. So this is the one that's 6, 8, 9. Which means that 5 is placed in column 3. Oh, no, not quite. 5 could go here. Almost. Yeah, there's 2 places for 5. I kind of want to actually ask myself if this can really be a 5, because if this is 5, I would need these to be... I need these to add to 5. I guess they could still be 1, 4. No, they can't be 1, 4. Could they be 2, 3? That 2 would have to be there, and the 3 would have to be there, but that's technically possible, I guess. Let's see. Oh, it could just not be a 14 cage, right? This one could be anything, right? The only thing I knew for sure was that it was definitely a look and say cage. You are correct. Let's see. Okay, so this is 19 and 4. It doesn't have a 6. It doesn't have a 3. And let's see. It doesn't have both a 5 and an 8. Doesn't have both a 4 and a 7. So it would be one of these 2 things. If this is an honest killer cage, it has to be one of those 2 exactly. Let's see. I'm close on 2s, but not quite. 1 in box 4, it's being pointed out, is definitely in one of these 2 cells. I don't think that immediately tells me anything, but it is worth noting for sure. This 179 looks down and tells me this isn't a 1 or a 9, at the very least. So that is a 3 or a 4. It's 32 and 5 needs a 9 and an 8 for what it's worth. It sort of feels like I'm supposed to count 9s again, looking at that, but I'm not quite sure. Let's see. Hey, Nils. Yeah, the remaining 2 in row 4 is there. Yeah, 3 in column 5, interestingly, it's pointed out here, because it can't be there because there's a 3 looking over. It can't be here because there's a 3 looking over. So one of these two is 3, which has the consequence that neither of those can ever be 3. Good spot, Todd. There we go. Okay, so there's the thing I was looking for on 9s. This is like a Zach swordfish on 9s, is what this really is. Whatever on earth you call a Zach swordfish, because this is like the this is to swordfish as Zach Wing is to X-Wing. Because what Carl is noting is that we have a total of 3 9s, because all 3 of these cages have 9s, and these are all in columns 3, 4, and 5. And so that means that this is not a 9 in particular. So it is only 1 or 4. I really thought that was going to immediately do something, but if it does immediately do something, I don't see what it is that it immediately does. But it seems... but it seems so intentional. Like, it seemed like exactly what I was being primed to do, because it was a fancier version of what we did earlier. And also, I tend to associate virtual with pencil puzzles and advanced Sudoku stuff. So I that seems very much like in the sorts of things I associate with virtual, to have that be the crucial step. But it does not seem like it did anything, tragically. But it's awesome, regardless of whether it actually does anything or not. Okay. 666 we've got up there. Let's see. 2, 3, 4. Okay, yeah. 3 in box 2 is in one of these 2 cells. I agree about that. Couldn't the 9 be in the 14 cage with a 4 and 2 1s? No, those do not add to 14. Those add to 15. So the answer is no. It would have to be the 9 in the 14 cage with the 4 and 2 1/2s in order for that to work out, which it turns out is probably not. I'll leave as an exercise to the reader discovering what is wrong with that hypothetical case. I probably want to just write in what's left in this row, because it's only a quad, and at least one of those cells has a lot Sudoku-logically looking at it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And this one's not a 1 or a 7, at least. Do I know anything like... No, I know there's not a 1 in this cage, actually, funnily enough. You can finish the 2226 cage in box 2. Can you explain what you mean? Let's see. 11 says row 8 column 3. is resolved. Where's the 4 in box 5? So the 4 is not in any of those cells. And the 4 is not there. Aha. Wow, that is a hell of a spot there, 11. The 4 in box 5, just by Sudoku, keeping in mind these corner marks, is ruled out of all of those places. So the 4 is in fact in one of these two, which means it's not there. Hell of a spot there. That is a lot. So that is going to do a lot for us. Like all of that. Great spotting there. This apparently is not a 9 anymore. Oh, right, because that's a 9. I was going to use that to place the 9 in this row, and I was about to place a 9 here, and I realized that there were a plethora of problems with placing a 9 here. And then I was confused, but now I think sanity has been restored. So this has a 4 in it, which tells us that it is 4, 5, 6, 8. With the 9 that we already have placed. These aren't the 4, so those are from 5, 6, 8. That one's not 6. For what it is worth. The 8 is in one of those two spells. One of those two cells, I suppose. Oh, there's a 6-8 pair in this column. That is a very wise point from Ron there. So that is neither 6 nor 8, and this is 5 or 7, actually, just to finish off the column. Let's see. Sayori says if I just write, if I just manually mark this cell, I will see that there are some problems. So it's not 2 or 9. It's not 4 by the row. It's not 1 or 7 by the box. And it sees the entirety of this 4, 5, 6, 8 quadruple, which means it's not 5, 6, or 8. So therefore it is 3. That is a good bit of Sayori magic. I always love that sort of like quadruple in a cage sees a cell kind of razzmatazz. I find that to be very satisfying. Okay, so now I have 2 digits in this cage that add to 7 to go with the 3 and the 4. And they're not 2 and 5, and they're not 3 and 4. I did do that in Crosswalk a lot with the Renbon looking at whispers. Is a thing I did, but yeah, that is a favorite of mine, both as a solver and a setter, to do that kind of trick. It can't be 3, 4 because there's no place for a second 3 Storm Climber. And it can't be 2, 5 because there's no place for a 2. So it's got to be 1, 6. So that's the 6, the 4, and the 1. And so it actually turns out that there actually weren't repeated digits in here as at the end of the day. Has anyone done a puzzle where killer cages can have repeated digits, but the total gives the sum of the distinct digits in the cage? That seems like a good idea that I randomly had, but I have not. I had it literally 10 seconds ago, so I have not yet thought through the ramifications, but it seems like it could be fun. Let's see. So there's a 2 up here still. We know about the 2. Let's see. Okay, we've got our 2 and our 3. Okay, so if this is a killer cage, I need this to be a 7 and a 0 or a 5 and a 2. So it would probably be the 5-2 option. If this is a killer cage... Oh, it now needs to be 1, 4, 5, 9. Oh, so if this is a killer cage... Oh, so in either case, this is always the 2. That's the point. So if this is the killer cage, that's a 2 and that's a 5. If this is the killer cage, it doesn't have a 2 in it, so that's still the 2. So this is just always the 2. Uh, let's see. Okay. That happened in the 10 clumps puzzle, Selena, because in the 10 clumps puzzle, the entire time I was setting it, I intended that it be possible that, like 10 lines, you have repeated digits in a 10 clump. But then it just so happened that in Jello, that never happened. And so, like, you do a lot of work in solving it to rule out the possibility that that actually happens, but then it doesn't actually happen. Okay. Row 3. Oh, row 3. I should write in the digits in row 3. Todd points out. Those are a 5-8 pair. Okay, so that makes these a 4-5-6-8 quadruple. So in particular, that makes that a 1. And that a 7. So no 7 over there, no 7 over there. That is a 4-5-8 triple, which I guess just means this is a hidden 1. Take your pick as to how you want to think about that. So this can't be a 1 anymore. Shockingly, it can't be a 1 either because of the 1 there or the 1 above it. Okay. This is a very interesting puzzle Sudoku logically, because I sort of the way the Sudoku is unraveling here is very interesting. Let's see. Get 8s in column 5. That's not column 5. Let's try again. Look at the 8s in this column 5. So one of these two is an 8. Do I know which one immediately? I don't, but I suspect Dog does. I guess I know that one of these two is an 8, right? Is that true? So let's just highlight all the spots that can be 8 in these two columns. I think this is Dog's point. Yes, these are all the spots in these two columns that can be 8s. We need 2 of them to be 8s. Therefore, I need one of the cells outside of the cage to be an 8. And that means neither of these can be an 8, because if these were 8s, then it would cause problems. So these are, in fact, a 5-6 pair, because I could make neither of those an 8. That's the point. I guess a different way to say it, this sees both spots. These two cells see both spots for 8 in column 5 would be a different way to say the same thing. In any case, that is an 8, a 4, and a 5, and a 5 and a 4. That is the virtual we all know and expect to have that work out that way. So that's a 4, just by sort of continuing Sudoku logical advancements. These are not 5 or 6. Don't listen to the man behind the curtain. These are, let's see, that is a 5 and a 6 and a 7. These numbers do not add to 14, so this is a look and say only, which means that this is a killer look and say. However, funnily enough, now it's right as a killer cage by Sudoku, of all things. So I don't even get anything out of the fact that it is a killer cage anymore. This is just 9 and then 1 5. This has apparently become a 5 down here. So those aren't 5. So we've got all of that. So the 7, 8 looks up. That makes that the 8 up here, makes that the 9 and the 5. That is the 8. These aren't 8. That is not 4. Selena telling me that Sayori is encouraging me to torture column 4 even more, even though there's only a 5-6 pair in it. I'm curious if that was said before or after this was all that was left over here. This is not a 5 over here. I can color 7/8 if I have to, but I'm going to mark before I decide if I have to or not. So that is an 8, a 7, an 8, and a 7. So that is an 8 and a 7. That's a 9. Oh, you could cheat at this puzzle now with Sven, because note that Sven knows this isn't a real killer cage, but knew that this was a real killer cage. And so the reddening of digits actually gives away which killer cages are cosmetic and which one are not. I don't think we used that, but I was slightly afraid, actually, at a very late point in the puzzle, that I had used that Sven had redded some cell because of a killer cage. But that didn't happen. But actually, that allowed for a different problem that I didn't anticipate, which was that using Sven might accidentally reveal information. But I'm pretty sure I did not cheat on virtual with Sven. That's a weird sentence. 5 and 1, and there we go. Very neat stuff going on there in that puzzle. It feels to me like, especially with the islands, that this would be a lot of fun to do with when you had to build the islands, perhaps, or something like that in a one of the Naverio, KNT, etc. style Japanese sums puzzles. Because it sort of feels like this sort of, all of this stuff that's not in the cages is a little less interesting. And so, like, you could sort of use Japanese sums to make it so it's only all of this cool one of each logic that's sort of being used, is sort of my inclination. Of course, I realize I say all the time that, like, oh, this could be a Japanese sums puzzle and it would be more flexible, and yet I've set 2 total Japanese sums puzzles in my entire life, which are 3 of diamonds in Berlin, but someday there will be a 3rd. I have started many of them. Alrighty, but very nice puzzle there, virtual. And I like this idea of things coming in 3s. I think that is pretty cool. All right, but I am going to take a quick break, and I'll be right back in just a moment. All right, welcome back. Uh, Next up, we have this puzzle, which is rather insane looking, but we are going to attempt it, which has Killer, Little Killer, and Renbon in it, as well as a rather large giant black circle. Now, I admit I had originally thought the rather giant black circle was going to just be saying these cells aren't in the puzzle at all. But in fact, actually, what it's saying is that all of these digits are doubled, which maybe helps you figure out how the 70 cage might possibly work. Uh, so, is this part of the 70 cage? Maybe this is part of the 70 cage. Uh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No, this has to be a different cage. I think. It's not 100% clear to me, but if this were part of the 70 cage, I think the 70 cage would be too big. Let's see. So the sum of the numbers along the diagonal, or the values of the numbers along the diagonal, is given. So 30 here, and 30 here. Yeah, it is also possible that this is part of a cage that is like over here, and that's not actually part of the 70 cage. I'm sure the 70 cage goes at least one cell further down. I am guessing that I'm guessing we're supposed to figure out what these cages look like, but we can look at the LMD post and just see if there's more details there. But let us figure it out. I'm gonna try and draw. I'm gonna guess it's intentionally ambiguous, but I am not 100% sure. So the Renbon, I think we basically know has to look like this. I guess it's possible that the Renbon actually goes into this cell. But the reason why I am interested in the Renbon is because these three cells, which I realize you can't quite see me highlighting. Oh, it could be. Oops, crap. Sorry, one moment. I spilled a bit of tea, not much, but I'm going to be back in just a second while I mop up a tiny bit of tea. All right, that's better. I have unspilled all of the tea, kind of. We'll see if my number pad likes it or not. My number pad may be mad at me. I somehow have put sevens in all of these cells, it seems like. That's not really what I intended to do. I will say, by the way, the setter's here. Welcome. I actually really like the idea of saying there's a lot of visual ambiguity in the grid and you have to figure it out. The only thing I would say is I would be explicit in the rules that is deliberately visually ambiguous and you have to figure it out. Uh, but Carl is right. This could be two Renbon. We don't actually know if they connect or not. We know that this one at least goes to here and this one at least goes to here. We know. Likewise, we know this cage at least goes to here. This cage at least... Actually, I don't even think we know that this cage necessarily goes up, but I think it's going to have to be part of the 70 cage because in order to get to 70, I think I'm going to have to do an awful lot. I know that this certainly goes over there because if you think about it, the sum of the digits in a column is only 45. If I double 3 digits, what is the most that I could do? I could do 24 plus... What's 24 plus 45? 24 plus 45 would be 69. So, in fact, actually, that's not even enough. So, if this were the entire column, the maximum it could be is 69. And 69 is less than 70. So actually this 70 cage has even more cells in it than the entire column. So it certainly has more cells in it than this. And I'm still not allowed to repeat digits in cages. And so I can't take both of these and have it be in the 70 cage. But I could maybe do something like this. But in particular, the minimum number of digits that I have to double is 4. So there's at least 4 digits under the black dot in this cage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, that would be 8 digits if it did exactly that. Which would then make this just a 2-cell cage, I suppose. So I don't think we quite know what we're doing with that yet. Let's see. Yeah, these 2 cells, which I can't really highlight, but these 2 cells are both available. So it could very well be that, for example, is what I was thinking about. Okay, so... It's being claimed that if I make this 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, that doesn't quite do it. Oh, I guess so. I guess the point is the minimum of these is, in fact, actually... what's the minimum of these? These is minimum 11. 11, 1. That would be 12. 16. Sorry, 12, 18, and then double that would be 30. Yeah, so, okay, so... This has to be, okay, that's very clever. Okay, so the point is, if I actually make these all 1, 2, 3, make these sum to 11 and make that a 1, then that actually sums to 30. So we're going to do a 1 dance for Zach. So let us bring out Zach for the 1 dance. Boop-a-doop, woo! Ba-doop-a-doop, wah! Ba-doop-a-doop, wee! Ba-doop, boo-doop, ba-doop, boo-doop, ba-doop, boo-doop, woohoo! Thank you, Zach. Thank you. And so I know that this is a 9 as well. So I've got that. And then I know that these digits, I'm just going to mark, are from 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, this one certainly can't be a 9, because I can't double a 9 going into a 20 cage with that many cells. Yeah, it is a good spot from Dog. These 2 cells sum to a minimum of 10 now. So, in fact, that has to be 4, 5, and 1. I agree with that. There does have to be a 2 on this Renbon, but it could be a doubled 1 here. We're not quite sure yet. Ron, I think actually this being a doubled 1 is okay, because if this is a doubled 1, then that's 1 and 2, and this Renbon would need to have a 2. Uh, yeah, and they could be different Renbon. We don't know. It is true. This being a double 9 would be a real problem. The Renbon would need to like zigzag through, because like theoretically this Renbon could do this, and we wouldn't be able to see it. In fact, it could even do that. So this Renbon could have an awful lot of spots on it. So we don't know a whole lot. But what I do know is that if this is a 9, 9 doubles to 18. And I certainly can't have an 18 on a Renbon of length 1 or greater, or sorry, of length 2 or greater, because I need a 17 or a 19, and I can't get a 17 or a 19 in this puzzle. So this can't actually be 9, 8, or 7, or 6, because even a 6 would need an 11 or a 13, and there's just no way to get an 11 or a 13. So this cell's actually minimum 8. So this Renbon does need to pick up a lot of additional cells in order to get to its minimum of 8. Just for the record. So we've got that. Sayori wants us to look at this 30 diagonal. So this, let me draw an orange line here. Oops. Because the minimum of these is 4, 6 now, because 4, 5 is gone. So 4, 6 is 20, which means that these cells need to sum to a maximum of 10. And so 1, 2, 1 is 4. And then 1, 2, 1 is 4. That'd be 8. That's not quite minimized unless... Oh, but this cell can't be a 1, right? Okay, this cell's a minimum of a 3. So 3, 2, 1 would be 6. 1, 2, 1 would be 4. That's what we need, actually. So we actually know, because this is a 3, that has to be that. So that's a 2 and a 1. And then this is 1, 2, 1. I think that's how that has to work. Oh, somehow I put the 8 and the 9 backwards. Thank you. There was a 9 there, so that told me there had to be a 9 in column 1. That tells me these are a 4, 6, so that tells me this is a 5. Which means these are a 5, 7, 8, and 9. Oops. These are a 4, 6. There we go. Haha. Okay, so none of these are 4 or 6 anymore. And they aren't 5 either. There we go. So now, if this was 8, it would have to go with 1. Okay, well, certainly now I can say for sure this red cage is done. This red cage cannot expand into the black hole and take an additional digit, because the additional digit it took would already push it over the edge of eternity. If this were an 8, I would need these to be 1, 3, which I could do. If this is a 7, then these are either 1, 5 or 2, 4. So I think in both cases, this cell's always a 1 or a 2. And then this cell is a 3, 4, or 5, I think. My number pad is slightly unhappy about the tea being spilled on it, so I'm going to switch and use my keyboard one. So the Renbon does go up to 10. So it needs to actually have all of the digits from 1 to 10 on it at minimum. The Renbon certainly does not take this 7, 8, 9, but it could take a bunch of other cells. Yeah, so there has to be a 9 somewhere on the Renbon is a really good question, or is a really good point. And the only place that a 9 can go on this Renbon is actually here, because remember, every digit in the black box is doubled. And we need a 3, 5, and 7 as well, which have to come from these cells. Well, it's not just a 9; it's all odd digits. But the 9 had to go in a specific place because that was the only place that could be a 9. So we've got our 3, 5, 7. I'm checking to see if I know any Sudoku. This one can't be a 5 because it's in a row with a 5. This one can't be a 5 because it's in a column with a 5. So therefore this is the 5, is the point. Yeah, I think conflict checker came off. I think probably conflict checker is off because of something to do with the killer cages. Because, yeah, the conflict checker is off. I'll just put it on classic Sudoku mode. That should do it. No, that doesn't. Oh, that does work. So that 3 actually seems to see down here to see that that's a 7, and that's a 2 and a 3. Oh, we have to rewind. To there. The question is, why couldn't this be a 9? Maybe this could actually be a 9. We can actually take advantage of our conflict checker. This is certainly not a 1. Yeah, so we just know that these are 3, 5, 7, 9. And of those, this one can only be 7. So none of these are 7. This one can now only be 3. So that one's not 3, and that one's not 3. And so these two are a 5, 9 pair. So that's not a 3. That's not a 7. Okay. So got all of that. Okay. The 1 is placed up here in this box just by Sudoku. So let's do that. 2 in box 2 is placed here, which actually makes that a 1. And now this 1 is definitely on the Renbon, because I need a 2 for this Renbon, and this is the only place in the grid I could get a 2 from the Renbon. And in fact, these both have to be on the Renbon as well, because I need all of those, because I need the 4 and the 6 as well. So actually, I think we know the Renbon does that now. Although I guess you could let your Renbon branch or whatever. And it's still going to need another cell, so the Renbon's not done. It's going to grab whichever of these is the 8. But it's not going to add anything to our logical knowledge which of those it is. Symmetric wise, it would look better if that was the one, but we'll do that. 1 in box 4 is actually placed here. So that means this is not a 4. It's a 3 or a 5. This is 5, 6, or 4, 7, or 3, 8. I guess I don't really want to do that. I don't know if yellow is part of the 70 cage or not yet. Uh, so Selena wants us to now look at this little killer clue here. So currently it sums to 4, a maximum of 10 for those cells. So these need to sum to at least, sorry, no, yeah, no, 9. This is a maximum of 9. Uh, so these need to sum to at least 21. So 8, 6 here is the maximum for these. 8, 6 is 14. And then this, so this is always 7, 8, or 9, although I think it can be any of those. I think Selena sees a different thing that I am missing. I do not quite see yet how Selena has gotten this to be maximum, because that's not quite what I got. Because I think this is allowed to be 7, 8, or 9, right? And this is these are allowed to be. So one of these two is 9 just by Sudoku. And so one of these is 9 by Sudoku by looking and asking where 9 goes in row 4. I don't think any of that is relevant. Okay, sorry. It's these 9s that Selena is looking at. It's not those 9s, it's those 9s. These 2 9s together with these 2 9s that I can't really highlight, but you'll have to trust me. Those say that this digit is never 9. So I think that means this digit's 7 or 8. If I did my math correctly, because this is 4, 9, 8, 6 is 14 plus 9 is 23. So yeah, this has to be 7 or 8 only. And likewise, I think that means these have to be 5, 6, 8. However, this one of those can only be 6. And now this has to be an 8, right? Agree. Because I needed one of these to be an 8, or I would not do this. Oh, right. And this needs to be a 5, for sure, making that a 7, making that a 9 and an 8, placing a 9 there, placing a 5 there, and a 9 there, and a 7 there. So hopefully that adds up, because if it does not add up, we've got a problem. Let's see. I think I can probably just mark this collection of cells. They're 2, 3, 4, and one of these is definitely a 2. 7 in row 2 is now only there. That is a nice spot. One of these is a 6 actually for the row, so neither of these is a 6, which actually makes these a 4, 8 pair, which actually makes that the 6 and the 5 and the 4 and the 5. Let's see. Row 1 only has 2 cells left in it, which are by our pair a 6 and a 9. This row only has a few cells in it. That one appears to be a naked 3. Let me double check that that's really true. It's not a 1, it's not a 2, it's not a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. Yep, this is really a 3, so that's really a 4. Really a 2 and a 3. So that's not a 3. Okay, well, this is now a triple, and that's a pair, so let's fill them in. So these are 4, 5, and 7. These are 6 and 8. Okay. 2 in column 2 does not go here because that would be a 9. So the 2 has to go there. So Dorlier's point is if I make the yellow part of the 70 cage, then I know this can't then be part of the 70 cage, and so these would sum to 10, and I would need to make 60, which would mean I'd need to make a sum of 30 in the cage through here, but I could not take the 1 or the 4, and so there'd just be no way to do it, right? Because of the, let me try and draw what I think this 70 cage would look like in that universe in a way that you can actually see it. So if this is all part of the 70 cage, well, I know that's part of the 70 cage. I know that's part of the 70 cage, which has made this a 6. However, now there's no place for this 70 cage to connect because 1 and 3 are both already in the 70 cage because 1, 2, 3, and 4 are out there. So just geometrically, that would not work. Which means that this is part of the 70 cage, means that's part of the 70 cage, and that's part of the 70 cage. So we've got that. I know these two have an odd sum for what it's worth. So one of these digits is odd, and it's not 1, 3, or 5. So one of these is 7 or 9. I don't think I immediately know what to do with that yet. Okay. So it's 1 odd and 1 even, and actually, Sayori points out that there's already 3 other evens, so this is odd for sure. And it's certainly not 1, 3, or 5 because I already have those, so this is only 7 or 9. So therefore this is the 1, just by Sudoku. Let's do the easier Sudoku first. So let us look at these. So that's just a 2. So let's see. 9 now. Oh, I just know one of these two is on. I don't know which one. So what's the simple proof that the 70 cage needs an 8? Does it need a doubled 8? Yeah, we need a minimum of 25 in the black circle. I agree with that. Oh, 25 is the maximum in the black circle? It's like all of these cells or something? Right, and I can't take the 2, so I guess I can start sort of marking off. I can't take the 2, I can't take the 3, I can't take the 7. Uh, so yeah, so if I add up 4, 6, 8, 9, that is 27. Uh, oh no, the 8 is not takeable either, right? The 8 is also not takeable because the 8 is part of the yellow cage. So actually 4, 6, 1, 9, 5, that would sum to indeed 25, and 25 is what I would need to double if I have all of 1 through 9 in the cage. We said that earlier. So in fact, all of this is part of the cage. I can draw this in a way that is slightly prettier, I believe. And get rid of the X's and the lines. And so, therefore, this needs to be just the leftover digits, which are a 7 and an 8. Okay, that was relatively non-horrible eventually. 9. That is a 9 just by Sudoku while I see it. That's a 9. Row 1, column 5. Yep, so that is a 4 and 8. So that is a 6 and a 4. And so that means I now know that my Renban actually does that. So that is a 6 and a 3 and a 2 and a 4. And now we can mark the rest of the grid. 8, 6, 8, 2. 4 goes there. 5, 7, 4. 3 goes there. 5 and 6. Actually, I didn't even have to use the fact that this summed to 20 again. Let's see. So that is an 8. That's a 7 and an 8. That is a 7 and an 8. That is a 7, 3, 6. 4, 5, 4, 3, 6, 7, and 5. Really cool idea here. I like the giant black dot. If lots of people do giant black dot Sudokus, Sven will have to work on how to make the highlighting show what cells you're actually selecting in the middle of giant black dot Sudokus. But neat idea. Yeah, the only thing that I was not a huge fan of, well, I said before, I would specify in the rules that everything is deliberately ambiguous and it's your job to figure it out. I would say that. And I thought the bit with this 70 cage was a little mathier than for my personal taste, but it certainly wasn't in the... It wasn't beyond the pale of what is reasonable, but it is... compared to the fact that everything else beautifully, once you looked at it, worked out to be minned or maxed, I thought that was a little bit messy. But overall, really cool puzzle, and I quite liked that that way. Alrighty, I'm going to take a quick break, and I'll be back in a moment with another puzzle. So see you all in just a moment. All right, I have returned uh, with a Florian German Whispers puzzle. German Whispers killer. So we've got the sum of these digits is the number in the cage. And then every digit along here needs to differ by at least 5 from every digit it bumps up with. And so a thing you'll see someone do as soon as they see green lines in puzzles, which I'm definitely going to do, is to try and highlight every other cell along here. And that's because along one of these green lines, you have to alternate between high and low. And also, I never once in my life will correctly color these things, but I'll do my best. So here's the thing that I noticed right away is that both of these have to be yellow, because what I know is one of these is high and one of them is low. And so if I have a high digit, then I need a low digit with it to add to 10. So these are both yellow as well. And I agree with Sayori that this digit is definitely 1 or 9, and that's because it differs by at least 5 from 4 digits. Now, where do these two yellow digits go in box 5 is a question you'll see a lot, and they go there and there. So these are yellow, and there's a 5 in this row for sure. So we've got that. And now Niels points out that because there's a 1-9 here, these 10 cages can't be 1-9. And they also can't be 4-6 because these cells can't be 4 or 6, because if it was 4, for example, these would have to be double 9, and that doesn't work. 9 is the only digit far enough away. So these are actually 2, 8, 3, 7 to make that work. Which also means these aren't 4, 6. So these are, in fact, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. So the only yellow left in this box and in this box is the yellow 4, 6, in fact. Okay, that's clever. So if yellow is low, then we run into a problem where there's only 3 yellows in box 5. That's really cool. So if yellow is low, then both digits in both of these cages are yellow, which puts exactly 4 yellow cells in each of these columns, which would make both of these 5 or purple. However, neither of them can be purple, and only one of them can be 5, so that does not work. So, in fact, yellow is not low, yellow is high. So yellow is orange, which color wheel-wise is not that far away. And purple is blue, which color wheel-wise isn't that far away. And we can double blue those. Very cool logic in this so far. So certainly these aren't 7, 8 anymore. And these are not 1, 2, 3 anymore. Not 1, 2, 3? Oh, I see. One of them was already marked as not being able to be 1. Okay. Oh, this is also blue. And now this is 1, 4 if you look at it. Because it sums to 5, so it's not 2, 3. Excuse me, I missed hitting that. So these are 2, 3. So this digit can only be 8 or 9 if you look at it closely. Now, Ron has found a 14 cage, but I have not found the 14 cage yet. But I will find it someday. one of these is a 2-3, I suppose. Oh, Ron has discovered that the thing. I see. The 14 cage was actually a 1-4-5 cage, is what was being discussed. And this orange digit is high, so therefore it is a 9. That is people's point. Therefore, we will bring out Zach for the 9 dance. Boop boop doop. Whoa! Ba-doop ba-doop. Wah! Ba-doop ba-doop. Wee! I looked through the grid so many times trying to find a 14 cage and convincing myself that there was not a 14 cage anywhere in the grid. And then being very, very confused by what was happening. Okay. So, of course, we've got that. Right. Remember we got that these two were orange by asking where these two digits went in box 5. So now that I know that those are a 7-8 pair, I know that these cells are also a 7-8 pair. I agree with that. And so these are a 5-6 pair if you just look at what is left. And so now these are a 1-4 pair. If we look at that, which unfortunately don't seem to have any 5 cages looking at them. Okay. They are blue, that's true. Oops. Hmm. I'm being told this 10 cage is forced, but I don't see how yet. One of these 13 cages definitely is definitely 4-9. I think. I could be wrong. Oh no, that's not possible. It's not possible actually, because these two 5 dominoes are different. Is the point. So this 5 domino, it can't be the same as this 5 domino, because if it was, where would the purple digits go in column 5? And the answer is they would go nowhere. So this is the other 5, the other way of making 5. There's 2 different ways. One of them is 1-4 and one of them is 2-3. But the point is that means that these don't have 1-4 or 2-3 in them. Alternatively, there are just 4 cells in these columns. There are just 4 blues in the columns is a much simpler way of articulating the thing that I just articulated, but that's okay. These are 6-7 or 5-8 are the 2 options now. So we've just argued this in a slightly more complicated way. But again, these 2 are different, whatever they happen to be. Okay. They really do, Tirganis, and welcome, Tirganis, by the way. One of these 4 cells is a 9, because one of these is a 4. I don't know which one yet. I don't yet have a answer. Right. Okay. So now, same argument that we just did. We'll just make this the pink flavor of 13 and this the green flavor of 13. Now this cell sees both the pink flavor and the green flavor of 13. And again, the flavors must be different, because if they were the same, they would all land there, and they can't. So this sees 6, 7, and 8, and therefore it can only be a 9. That is what chat has spotted. And I agree with that, I think. And same exact argument here, just backwards, because it's completely symmetric. I keep getting told this 10 cage can only be 4/6, but I have not seen why yet. Uh, uh, oh, okay. So the point is corner mark 9 in one of these, because this is a 7/8/9 triple. So there's a 9 in one of these. And so uh, this is a little case checky, but uh, if this is, say, 2/8, now I definitely put a 3/7 down here, and that doesn't work. And if this is 3/7, uh, if this is 3/7, isn't that fine? Don't I just get 2/8/9? Oh, oh no, because I end up that's even worse. Ew. Uh, yeah, that's just worse. Uh, the perpendicular 10 cage makes it easier. Oh, okay. Sorry. There's a much slicker way to do this, which is to note this 10 cage can't have any of these digits in it. It can't have these in it by Sudoku, and it can't have this one in it because it's a different 10 cage from this. So it has to be 4/6. Okay, that is a very nice way to see that. Okay. So this is in fact 4/6. Let's see. I wanted to note that now 4 in this row can only go in a small number of places, but it's not quite small enough. Uh, row 8 does have all the lows. That's true. So these are all 5 or high. Right. So now if I look at this box, now this is low. And now we've got all the lows here. So these are 5 or high. And so now that gets me all the 5s and highs in column 9, because one of these two is now, and one of these two now is a 5, just because, wait, no, sorry, right. One of these two is a 5, because I've already got 3 highs in this column, counting the 6 up here. So one of these is a 5. So this is just an honest high. And everything else in the column is low. If I've got that. Now, oh, these are certainly 5 or high while I am doing assorted management. I have allowed myself to descend into marking 5 or high in places. Row 3 has its 4 requisite blues, so these are all 5 or high. And I guess I can just mark these as 5 or high. Why not go wild with my 5 or high markings? Which now means that is low. Which now is all the blues in this row, which now makes that the 6 and that the 4. It's a 6, that's a 4. And all of these are green or high. Green or high. So this isn't 6, so that's not 7, is what we said. Okay. Sayori points out now 4 is corner marked in one of these two cells, and it doesn't matter which of these two is 4. Whichever one it is, it definitely makes that a 9, which makes that an 8. Means that is not an 8. Column 1 has one more blue, and it's a 2, 3. And now if I do my coloring a little bit, I'll actually resolve everything, because these are actually the green. Oh, maybe not quite. Oh, yeah, no, sorry. These are the green, but these are also the green. And so what that means is if you look at it, oh, wait, no, I don't know what that, sorry, I'm saying absolute nonsense. I think. Yeah, I don't think I quite know. I know that these two are pink, but I don't think I know which one that is yet. It is going to be difficult for this to be a 9, is being a 4, because if this is a 4, that would have to be a 9. That's not going to work, because there's already a 9 in the box. So actually, that's the 4, and that's the 9. So now this is a 9 if I chase my pencil marks over there. Okay. 9 is placed in box 7 just by Sudoku. So that is just a 9. And so now where is the 5 in row 9? The 5 in row 9 is definitely over here somewhere, so that's not a 5 anymore. Which now means the 5 in column 1 is in one of these two cells, so that's not a 5 anymore. And now we have sort of where is the 5 in row 1? And so now the 5 in row 1 is over here, so that's not a 5 anymore. I did avoid saying Zach Wing on 5. Sorry, Zach. And so we've got all of that going on. Also, these are orange-green, because one of them is high and one of them is green. This is an orange-blue pair, but I don't think I want to break out the red lines just yet. Yeah, I know there's a 5 in one of these, and there's a 5 in one of these. That all works out. Okay, so I'm being told all the 9s can be placed if I switch to the right mode and highlight the 9s. So, for example, that digit is a 9. And now that digit is a 9. And now that's all the 9s. And so one of these is a 4, and it's definitely not one of the ones that doesn't connect to a 9. So one of these two is a 4. Interestingly enough. I don't claim to know which one it is yet, but I do claim that these are from 1, 2, 3 now, for example. I don't know that I even really want to mark that down. Let's see. Right. One of them is a 1. So the one that's a 1 is opposite it in the column, is what Emma is pointing out. Because remember, these two sum to 5 because the other two sum to 5. So yeah, so these two also sum to 5. So it's either that these are 1 and 4 or these are 1 and 4. These two cells are a 5-6 pair by the column. So that creates like a virtual 5-6 pair in this box and a virtual 5-6 pair in this box. Because there's definitely a 5 or a 6 in the 13 cage, and there's a 5 or a 6 in this 13 cage. So these two are 7-8, and they're the opposite kinds of 7-8 if we care about that. So like this is the purple 7-8, and this is the other one. This is, of course, a 7-8. just by the box and by what is left, given that we've placed the 6 and the 9. Oh, there's a 7-8 pair in this row. Is that at all interesting? There's also a 7-8 pair in this row. Ah, yes. Okay, that's very smart. This is from Nils again. One of these two is a 6. Just by looking at the box and asking where 6 can go, one of these is a corner marked 6. So therefore, neither of those are 6, and therefore the only spot for 6 in the entirety of column 1 is there, which makes that a 6. Or sorry, makes this not a 6, which makes that not a 7. And in fact, the fact that this wasn't an 8 meant this wasn't a 5 quite some time ago, but I didn't mark it. So we've got all of that. So this is a 5 or a 7, just by the row. I should go ahead and mark. And these are a 5-7 pair, actually. If I just write that in. Oh, if those are a 5-7 pair, then this is not a 7, so that's an 8, which makes that a 6 and a 7, and now makes this a 5 and an 8, so that makes that the 6 and the 5. And so if this is a 5 and an 8, that's the 7. So no 7, no 6. This is the green 5. This is the orange 6. This is not green anymore. This is not green anymore either, it would appear. And this is green now, so it would seem. These are a 7-8 pair. So yeah, so we finally got to disambiguate all of this. Oh, this isn't orange anymore. Let's do it right. This is not orange, or sorry, this isn't green anymore. More astutely. This is a 7 or an 8. Oh, this is a 7 or an 8, which gives me a 7-8 pair in column 2, which comes down and actually sorts out that this isn't a 7. And so this is a 7. This is a 5 and a 7. Okay, so now this is a 1 or a 2 only, because it's next to a 7. This is a 1 or a 2 only, because it's next to a 7. So this is a 3 or a 4, because these two sum to 5. Okay, these are 5-8, points out Stephanie. Because if I look at what they can be 5, but they can't be 6, 7, or 9, so they can only be 5 or 8, which actually makes that a 7 over here. And that makes these two cells a 1-2 pair, which then by the row, having a 1-2 pair makes this a 3-4 and makes this a 1-2, which now makes this a 3. And so that's going to do a lot of collapsing as well. So that's a 2 and an 8. That's a 7. 8 and 7. This cell is now green, and this cell is now none green. Oops. 5 and 8. So this is an 8 and a 7. This is a 7 and a 3, which makes that an 8. And an 8 and a 2, which finally now disambiguates my 5 dominoes. That gives me my 1 and my 4, my 3 and my 2, my 1 and my 2. This cell now is green. This cell now isn't green. So this is a 1. This cell now is green. This cell now isn't green. That is a 7. This is a 4 and a 1 over here. As we do that. So one of these two cells... Sorry, so... no, I don't quite know. Okay, let's mark the rest of the grid while we are at it. So so this has become a 1. This is not a 4, actually, because it's next to an 8. So that is a 3. So we've got that. That 3 has made this a 2. That's a 4 and a 1, which has made this a 3. Makes that a 2 and a 4 and a 1, a 3. Now this is high and this is low. 3. Yeah, Florian puzzles are great, almost always. These are a 3-6 pair. These are not a 3-6 pair. This is a 6. This is orange, which makes this blue. So these are not 1, 4. That's not 1 or 4. That's not 1. Those aren't 2. Those aren't 6. So these are both blue. If you look at it, this 7 does not go next to a 4 if you look at it, per my earlier corner marks. So that, in fact, is a 4, which has now made this cell green, which has made that cell green, which has made this cell orange, which has made this cell blue, which has made this cell orange and made this cell blue. And so we have a 2-1, a 3-2, a 5-5, a 6-4, and a 6-3. Very, very nicely put together puzzle there for Florian. Loved that. Great work there. And good spotting all around the chat on what all of the themes and such were in this puzzle. Great fun there for me. I'm going to take a quick break again, and then I'll be back once I've stretched a bit, and I will solve more puzzles. So see you all in just a moment. All right, welcome back, everyone. Uh, I second, by the way, everything Selena has said about Florian puzzles. Florian puzzles have always been quite good to me. Uh, so I likewise suggest that if you want a puzzle, you do a Florian puzzle. All right, but for now, let us do this Zenonetics Nabner loop puzzle. So we need to draw a one-cell wide loop of orthogonally connected cells that follows these rules. The loop must visit every circle. The loop does not touch itself orthogonally, but may touch itself diagonally. Each loop segment within a Sudoku box acts as an independent Nabner line. Digits on a Nabner line do not repeat, which should be easy to do since it's within a single box, and cannot be consecutive with any other digit on its line. Or I know many of you prefer the Selena wording of the Nabner line. Digits along a Nabner line always differ by at least 2. Circle digits indicate how many loop cells can be found in the surrounding 9 cells, 3 by 3 area. And cells across black dots contain a 1-to-2 ratio, and I assume not all dots are given. Oh, excellent. Thank you. Tallcat is here and gives $20 to please buy Zach some Friday fish. Let us get Zach a fish dance. Whoop, 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 whoop. Boop, boop, boop. Whoop, 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 whoop. Boop, 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 boop. Waha! Thank you, Zach, and thank you very much, Tallcat. Greatly appreciated. I will give Zach some extra fish, and I hope you're having a good evening while we attempt to unpack what is happening with this Nabner puzzle that we have done. It's interesting that there are 2 circles. Oh, no, sorry. It's not interesting. Circles don't mean the thing I thought that circles meant. Circles are counting. I was thinking that this meant that the Nabner line had to visit this box twice, but that is not necessarily the case. So an interesting thing about Nabner lines is that if a Nabner line has length 5, it immediately means that everything on it has to be 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. It's the only length 5 Nabner line. So we have to be a little careful with circles like this one, because the minimum length this Nabner line can possibly be is 4. But I guess this circle can be, I guess it could be 3, 4, or 5. I think it could be as much as 5. It cannot be as much as... Oh, this can't be a 5. What am I talking about? The Nabner line definitely doesn't do this because of what I just said. That would put 6 cells on it. So I think this could be a 3 or it could be a 4. Oh, I don't think it can be a 4 either. It could be a 4. No, I don't think this can be a 4. I think this is just always a 3. Because if it was a 4, then the line itself would have to have length 4, because the line couldn't have length 5. I think this is just always a 3. Do people agree with my assessment that this is always a 3? I think I agree with my assessment that this is always a 3. And so I think that means the line actually looks like this. Oh, could it not go up? Can it go left again in row 8, column 7? No, because that's the loop touching itself, and the loop's not allowed to touch itself. Yes, if the loop could touch itself, this would be a valid arrangement, but the loop cannot touch itself orthogonally, and this loop does. So I really think this has to be a 3. And the loop has to do that. And so I believe we get our famous 3 dance. Ba-boop, ba-doop, woo! Ba-doop, ba-doop, wah! Ba-doop, ba-doop, wee! Ba-doop, 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 wah! Thank you, Zach. Thank you. And now we actually know that this extends this way because, again, the loop would touch itself orthogonally if we went that way. So the loop definitely does that. This is a symmetrically disposed cell. Tristan, can you put a link in chat? Tristan is cuddled up on the couch playing a video game, so he may or may not do that. Let's see. Nils asked why couldn't it go into row 8, column 9? Oh, we got there. Yeah, okay. So the same logic applies because it's exactly the same cell just rotated by 90 degrees. And so again, that means that this does that and that. Like that. Now, I don't know that that means that this doesn't have length 5 within the box, just so that we don't visit any of these cells. And so I guess I know I can start graying. All of these cells are unvisited. These cells are definitely unvisited as I contemplate the nature and purpose of reality. Oh, this has to go up here. Because if this comes here, then it breaks the fact that the loop would touch itself orthogonally. So this is a weird... I really like drawing the line instead of coloring, but the loop can't touch itself orthogonally is a really unnatural restriction in the universe where you use the line tool. So similar here, if it does this, now the loop visits here, but it touches itself orthogonally. So we get that over there is certainly unvisited, and this over here is certainly unvisited. This is a minimum of 3, but it's actually not. It's actually at least 4, I want to say. 4 or 5? Could this be a 5? There's no way this can be a 6, I think. Actually, maybe it could be a 6. Never mind, sorry. I think this could be bigger. Yes, now row 9, Selena points out, has this issue where if this dips down, then we're forced to dip back up, and now the loop has touched itself orthogonally. That's another one of those sort of like things that feels artificial when you are dealing with these sorts of lines, but it is okay. We've got that. I think the loop can go up. Why couldn't it just do that, Nils? Feels to me like that would be okay. This circle, this is a 2 of 3 trick that MJ has spotted. If you can come up with a combination of 2 directions that a cell that can only go 3 directions can't go, then it has to go the other one. And so this 2 of 3 is forbidden. Because if it did this, the loop definitely touches itself no matter how it connects. And if you can't use these 2, that means you always use this 1. Yeah, the ye old forbidden 2 of 3 trick. A lot of loop tricks or a lot of loop steps that are really hard to see are actually very naturally phrased as 2 of 3 tricks. At least in my brain, that's how I think of them. So I think Nils wants me to say that this can't be visited, because if this cell was visited, we'd now have this issue where now both of these can't go to row 2, column 2, so they'd both go out, but now this line is max length, and so it would have to leave, but now these circles can't be visited without touching the loop. So this is definitely not visited. I agree. And so I think Nils says the same thing applies here, where now just neither of these things can connect to this circle, but one of them has to. And so that creates a problem. And the reason why is because of the touching orthogonally trick, or I guess not trick, the touching orthogonally rule. And then the same thing happens over here. So we get a bunch of gray over there. And now by the previous cul-de-sac point of Selena, these are now unvisited because we'd end up doing that, and that would lead to doing a UE through the corridor or through the cloister, and we can't do a UE through the cloister, or whatever nonsense phrase you would like to use. So we get that. Funnily enough, now this line can't cross this black dot because it would put 2 odds on a black dot. I don't think we quite have a way to use that yet, but it is cute to me. Let's see. Oh, we've got a 2 of 3 trick on this this circle now, because I definitely can't do that. Because if I do this, now I have the problem that I've definitely touched orthogonally no matter which direction I connect to this circle from. So in fact, this definitely connects down. Like that. Now I don't know that it doesn't visit this box twice. So I could go across here and have like a 2-4 or something. That I can figure out. So let's see. So people are minimizing these circles. So I know one of these 2 is definitely in. Plus these 2 are definitely in. That's 3. That's 4. So these are both minimum 4. And this one is minimum 4 and maximum 6, but I think 6 is plainly impossible. Because 6 would mean all of these were a loop, and I don't think that's possible without the loop touching itself orthogonally, because I can't do like an S or anything like that. So, oops. So certainly 6 is out. So this is 4 or 5. And the same argument actually applies to this one. If I look at it, it certainly needs to connect to one of these 2, and it definitely takes that one. And it connects to one of these 2. And so that's 1, 2, 3, 4 at minimum. And so this is 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8. But again, this has all kinds of problems if I try and make it any of these numbers that are really large. Which are that... Oh, interesting. Okay, so... it is true that whichever way we go from this cell, I thought these were going to have to be different, but these can't actually be different. So what Emma's point is definitely wherever I go from here, whether it be there or there, I then go here because I have to by the no touching itself orthogonally rules, which means these 2 are on a Nabner together, which means this is not 4 or 5. Okay. Now, almost assuredly, that means this is 6, because again, 8 would mean I'm painting all of this stuff with Nabner line, and that just is blatantly impossible for lots of reasons. One of which is that every digit on this Nabner would be odd if I used everything in this box. I'm going to guess 7 is also not possible. Yeah, I think 7 is also not possible if I just look at what my options are, but I don't have a great proof immediately that this can't be 7, other than that I sort of looked at the options and none of them look good. But I think I'm convinced this can't be a 6. So I know there's a max of 3 here. So if I want to get this to 7, I need all of this to be there. Okay, that's a good way to do it. I get a max of 3 of these. So if I want to get to 7, I would need all of these to be in, and that just definitely touches this orthogonally. Is I think the point of this. So this can't be 7. This is a 6. Oops. Which means this is a 4. And so now that I've got that, I mean, I think it's going to have to be the W. Is the claim that the W is the only option? The W with this this thing here. People say 4 goes down now. I don't see why. I agree I can't take every cell in a 2x2. So I take at most 3 of these. Okay. So I take at most 3 of these, and I take at most 3 of these. So this is the principle of inclusion-exclusion thing. Selena's proof is I take at most 3 of these, and I take at most 3 of these, which sounds like I could get to 6, but I can't because both of them count that. So I need this, or I lose. So this is definitely visited by the loop now. And if that's visited by the loop surely can't come here and can't come here. And now the W thing that I thought was forced is in fact actually forced. That is a good way to articulate that to Selena. Okay, and now the 4 cell has its 4 cells. So now that is unvisited. And so now this comes down. And now these have to connect because if they don't, now I force a touchy-touchy moment and no touchy-touchy. So those are gray. So this now has to be a 5, actually, if you look at it, because it currently sees 4 already, but it needs to get to 5 because there's a 4 in the column. So this is a 5, which means this is on the loop. Which means that we do that, and now means that I actually know that these are the odds, so these are the evens, and those two aren't 4. That one's not 6, and one of these two is 4, in case that becomes relevant at a later date and time. Yes, and now this is gray, as Jim points out, for sure. I don't think there's anything wrong with this being a 1-cell visit to the box, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with a 1-cell Nabner line. It's not a very interesting Nabner line, but I don't think it's broken. Oh, this certainly can't turn this way because that would be the loop touching itself again. So this has to go down there. So that is gray. So this can only possibly be 4 or 5 just by counting. Okay, this cell is a minimum of 4, and it can't be a 6 or bigger, and it's not a 5 either. So in fact, per Sweet Blues, this digit can only be 4. I agree with that. And the 1 cell is in one of these two because this either goes up or that way. Yeah, right. This can't come this way because if the loop comes this way, now this is stuck. So this goes to one of these, and that's the fourth. So this is gray, is the point of this being a 4, which now means this comes up like that. This black dot is certainly from 1, 2, 4, 8, because neither cell on it can be 3. This is from 1, 2, 3, 6, because neither cell on it can be 4. Let's see. Right. This circle does not connect to this line, is what people are saying, right? This circle is on the Nabner, but it's not on the Nabner in a way that connects to this, because if it was, that would be a 5-length Nabner, but a 5-length Nabner wouldn't have a 4 in it. That was the same as the break-in we had down here. So in other words, this does not turn that way, because that would force it to grab that. So this goes that way. Which is now grayified that cell. So now I don't think there's anything wrong with a 1-cell visit to this this world. As far as I'm concerned, I think a 1-cell visit is acceptable. Let's see. Kurban believes this cell is gray. If I did this, I would have to do that for sure. Oops. So I would have to do that. Yes, and that does bad things to this, to row 6, column 9, right? Right. So this is certainly gray. Or I break that. Because again, I know these two connect some way, shape, or form. Yeah, I should just sort of like draw in a diagonal connection here to remind myself. I can draw in like a diagonal orange connection here to remind me that these connect. And that will make that sort of thing more visually clear. I just don't know whether they connect that way or connect that way as of yet. Uh, uh, this cell is a minimum of 4 and a maximum of 5 per Selena's 2x2 trick. Because it already sees 4 if you consider it goes a place, but there's a maximum of 3 of these. So this is certainly a 4 or 5 per Tall Cat and others. 6 in box 4 is an interesting observation, because 6 in box 4, Sudoku logically doesn't go there, and it doesn't go on a Nabner with a 5. So Sweet Blue's point is that one of those is a 6. So ergo, that's not a 6. So one of these two definitely is a 6. That gives me a lot of 2, 4, 8 action in row 9, for what it is worth. Could do exactly the same thing with 4, actually, into this box. 4 in this box is in one of these cells. And ergo 4 in this box is in one of those cells. I certainly know that these are 1, 2, 3, 6. Just and that's not a 3, so that's not a 6, just by notes. This is not a 4 by pencil marks, I agree. So this is not an 8. Yeah, 3 in box 6 is in one of this mess of cells. It's either in the circle or it is on the dot. So there's definitely a 3 up here as well. I should mark that this is from 1248 as well. And that one's not 4, so that one's not 8. It's not 4 because there's a 4 looking up and there's a 4 in the box, whichever way you want to look at it. 3 in box 8 is somewhere in this row. Hey, Ranks. I hope you're doing well. I guess I can fill in what these can be, because if I sort of write in everything they can be, they can't be 4, 6, and they can't be 3, 5, 7 either. So these are only actually from 1, 2, 8, 9. Oh, no, I'm sorry to hear you're sick. That sucks. Being sick is the worst. I think I'm 1 book away from the end of the Stormlight Archive, by the way. Ranks got me to read Brandon Sanderson books. Do I want to pencil mark these as being from 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9? I mean, apparently I do. Oh, is book 5 not out? I think I am in book 4. I think I'm almost at the end of book 4. Which is, it would be great if I was almost at the end of book 4, because I want to read the sequel to A Space Between Worlds, which is my favorite book at the moment. I did not read the novellas. 3 in box 1 is in 2 places. Let's see. Yes, 3 in box 1 is in one of these 2 places. Let's see. Let's see. Eichsler says if this is a 3, then the Kropke is 1, 2. Is that break filling this Nabner? Could still be 4, 6, 8, right? Breaks with accounting Nabner cells? Oh, yeah, I guess I was thinking that this was an option for how this could be a 3, but that's not actually an option because that would actually make it a 4. Is there any option where this is a 3? The only option where it is a 3 is where it goes straight up and down. Okay, that's the point. So, yeah, if this is a 3, then the thing has to go straight up and down. And the problem is then this is 3 and it's got a 2 on it. Got it. Okay. So 3 is not actually possible once you realize what a 3 circle would look like. Namely, a 3 circle would look like this sort of long vertical line, which would be bad with the way the black dot works. Or Selena puts it, if you like, Matthew puts it as it would be a black dot in Matthew. So that means the 2 is actually just Sudoku logically on here, which makes this a 3, 6. Which means that this digit is, well, it can't possibly be a 2. So now this is a 5 or a 7, and a 7 doesn't work because a 7 would be everything. So this is now a 5, and that's a 4. If you now look at the options for this, which now, because this 4 is already sated, makes that gray, which extends my Nabner loopy loop here. And now if these 2 don't connect, then they now touch orthogonally. So we can't do that. So we get that. And so now that's all gray. This is now a dead end, so it's gray. So this now extends up here like that. And now this can be counted. It is now just a 4, making that a 4. which makes that not an 8. Go ahead and do that. Okay. Do I want to mark what these cells can be? Probably. Okay, so they're not 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess that's all I know is that, yeah, so I need a 7, 8, or 9 in there. I guess it's not as exciting as I'd sort of hope. That's not a 4, so that's not an 8. So this is a 1, 2, which means that's not a 1 or a 2. So this is an 8 or a 9, so that's not an 8 or a 9. Because I can't have both 8 and 9 on a Nabner together. The dot in box 2 now is 3, 6, points out Eckbert, because it doesn't have a 4 on it, so it would be 1, 2 if it were of the 1, 2, 4, 8 family. That family needs a name, by the way, like the 1, 2, 4, 8 family and the 3, 6 family. They need names, I feel like. But anyway, this now can only be 3, 6, and we know the order. So 3 and 6. That gets rid of 3 down here as an option. Oh, 3 certainly doesn't go here anymore either, because now this Nabner has a 4 on it. So now that's a 3. So these are from 6, 7, 8, 9, by the way, just for the future. Which means there is a 5 in this column down here for sure. Let's see. There is a 3 over in this column somewhere. This seems to no longer be able to be a 3. The 6 is placed in box 3. That's gorgeous. So the 6 just Sudoku-logically is placed on this dot because there's 6s in these rows and there's a 3, 6 pair in this column. Oops. So that is a 6 and a 3. Seems to rule 3 out of that cell. Seems to rule 3 out of that cell, which places a 3 up here. No 3s there anymore. So there's a 1 or 2 and a... Okay, well, this is not 7 or 9. I'm going to go out on a leap and guess. And it's not 8 either because of that. So this is actually another 1, 2 dot, which means neither of these are 1 or 2. Sadly, I didn't get to use the Nabner for that. So now these have to be 7, 9. Because if I used an 8, I'd run out of values to put on this Nabner. So these are now like a quad, I think. They're not 1, 2. They could be 3, 4. They're not 5. They could be 6, not 7, 8, not 9. So I know none of these are 6. That one's not 4 either. These aren't 3. That one's not 4. I guess now I know one of these is a 3. Which is actually does give me a Zackwing on 3s, if you look at it. One of these is 3 just by Sudoku, but that together with this gives me a Zackwing on 3s, which tells me these aren't 3. And so, in fact, that is 3. So we get that. At about this point, someone in chat is going to notice there's a negative constraint on circles or something like that. Yeah, row 3, column 5 definitely doesn't turn up, Kuraban points out, because it would close the loop immediately, and there's more loop. So this loop continues here. This loop continues here. Certainly the loop now can't turn down, because if it does, then it A, closes the loop, and B, makes a length 7 Nabner, which is like 2 different problems. So this comes over here. That comes over here. This still can't turn down because it would again close the loop. So this again continues over. This is now gray, by the way. So now the only way to get to this 5 is to go down. If this does not turn down now, oh, did I screw up something about that? Oh, yeah, maybe this could go down. Sorry, this could go down. There's no reason that couldn't go down. This does have to go over, though. That's still true. Well, it would become a length 7 Nabner ELSF. It's okay as long as it's two length 3 Nabners. But if this went down, it would have to connect, and it would actually be a single connected length 7 Nabner because of the geometry rules. Uh, yeah. See, I'm being told that this doesn't turn right. Let's see. This 5 is definitely on the loop. Uh, so we can do a 2 out of 3 trick on the 5 because I can't do that on the loop with the 5. So if I can't do that, that means I definitely go down from the 5, which now means this is a sorry, not means this is a 5. Means this is not a 6. Good lord. So this is a 6, which makes that a 3 over there. And now that I've gone there, I'm now definitely not also taking the 6. There we go. Okay, and so now these have to connect. I think I phrased this slightly differently than most of the people. I think to get this to be a 2 out of 3 point, but I will do it with a 2 out of 3 argument, which will then give me that, which will then gray those things, which will extend this here. And now this can't go down, because if this goes down, I now take a 4 and I put a 4 on a Nabner with a 3. I cannot do that. So I have to go here instead, which will come down here and then force that. And now, oops, now that's the 4 and that isn't. And this is now not loop anymore. It's funny that I still don't know what that is, but I do know that this is now a length 5 Nabner. So it is 13579, which makes that a 2 and a 1. So that is not, oops, that is not a 5. That is not a 1. Let's see. Okay, so so this is an 8. I don't know why I didn't fill that in, but this is an 8. If I look at it. So these are from 179, which is, I guess, completely useless, but I'll fill it in anyway. Okay. There is a 6 over here somewhere. That's a good spot. Where do 1 and 2 go in column 4 it's a hell of a spot, but it is a very Sayori spot. No 1-2s in the box with a 1-2, no 1-2s on top of these, and they can't go both there. So this one's a 1 or a 2, and it can only be a 2. That's an awesome spot. I really like that. So the 1 then goes over here for what it is worth. Let's see. So this row's now just got a few digits left, which are 5, 7, 8, and 9, unfortunately. The 1 in this row is in one of these two spots for what it is worth. Is that interesting somehow? Yes, it is interesting. It's interesting because of that cell. Because the point is, actually, what I could have said is one of these is 1. It looks over and makes that a 2 at the very least, which makes that a 1 and a 2, which now makes that a 1. Like that. And now that has done an enormous amount of damage to our down here area. Which sounds actually dirtier than it is. So the 2s down here place a 2 there, which then dislodges a 4 corner mark, which places a 4 there. So 1 and a 2. So we get all of that. I will do Selena's deduction next, Selena, when Selena thinks something is cute, it usually is. Row 8, column 7 is odd. I agree. What do I... Oh, yes, right. Column 7 is odd. Yes. Okay, gorgeous. Okay, yes. So Selena's point is, therefore, the loop doesn't do that. And we can finish the loop that way because just purely by Sudoku, this digit was odd. So this can't be a whole bunch of odd digits. Okay, yes. Good spot to Selena there. And we successfully did not bypass it. So we get all of that. These are a 6-8 pair. That is a 1 just by Sudoku. That 6-8 looks up and makes that a 9 and a 7 and a 9. Makes that a 1. Or sorry, makes that not a 1, which that makes this a 7-9 pair, which does make that a 1. Okay, so no 9s there. This has got to be the last 5, 7, 9 for the column, and it can only be a 5 or a 7 because there's already a 9 in the box. This is the last 5, 7, 8 for the box. For what it is worth, this is not a 7. Let's hit mark and see how much I regret it. I regret it a medium amount. I regret it enough that I'm going to undo it. How about that? Okay, we'll certainly mark those, though. Let's see. 8 in column 8 has been called not there. So is there a reason I can't put an 8 in one of these? Oh, yes. There you go. Okay, that's a 7 or a 9. Got it. Okay, so 8 in column 8, yeah, has to go in this box, not there. So one of these is an 8, which now means there's an 8 over here somewhere, is Sayori's point. In particular, that's not an 8. And so now that that's a 7 or a 9, now that's not an 8, which means that's in fact an 8, which means that's not an 8. Yes, once that's 7 or 9, then yeah, that can't be an 8 anymore either. Is very cute. Okay, so what are these, Mr. Mark? Let's see. Okay, so this has to be a 1 or a 2 because I can't put both 1 and 2 on this line per Sayori's spot from earlier. So this is definitely a 1 or a 2. And I've got a 1 or a 2 with a 7 or a 9 on here. Actually, that's a 5, 7, 9 triple. So in fact, this is the 1 or the 2. And that means this is just a 7. That's a 9. That's a 7. We got around that. That's not a 9, not a 7, not a 7. Let's see. Okay. I'm gonna pencil mark these and allow myself the opportunity for regret. These aren't 5 or 7. So those are a 6-8 pair. So this is not 6 or 8. That is 1 or 2. And again, I can't have both 1. Oh, sorry. This is not on the thing. Sorry. Right. This is not 9. Because there's a 7-9 pair, and that's actually a 5 because there's a 7-9 pair. So I was going to, in a really elaborate way, prove that this is a 1 or a 2, but the elaborate way turned out to be identify that there's a pair in the box, but in a really complicated way, which does sound like me, in fairness. Okay. Oh, there's a 3 on the line already, Rankska spotted. And if there's a 3 on the line already, I cannot put it with a 2. So that has to be the 1, and that has to be the 2. So that's the 1, and that's the 2. That's the 9 up there. That's a 1 by pencil marks, if you believe our pencil marks. And I now think I am prepared to paint the town red with pencil marks. So now I am willing to do that, and note that this can't be a 7 because there's already a 6, so that's an 8, that's a 9 and a 7, 7 and a 5, that is a 5 and 8 and a 7, that is a 6 and a 5. Let's see, this can't be a 5 because there's a 4 already, so that's a 9 and a 5. These are a 7-9 pair, so I don't know anything about that. These are a 6-9 pair. This is a length 1 Nabner, so I don't have to worry about that. But there's a 5 in the column, which goes there. So that is not a 5. Let's see. Okay. I don't know if that's a 7 or a 9 yet. I am clearly missing something very easy, which is the fact that something. Oh, no, not that. Oh, there's a 7-9 pair in this row. There we go. That is it. 7-9 pair in this row places an 8 there, which makes that a 7-9-7, 9-7, 6-8, 6-9, 6-8. Loved that. That was great. Really great job to Zenonetics there. Wonderful setting there all around. Alrighty, I am going to take a quick break, and I will return with another puzzle. So fear not. All right, I will be back in just a moment. All right, welcome back, everyone. I have pulled up a Mormogli Renbon Kropki puzzle. Each Renbon here needs to contain a string of 3 consecutive digits, but they can be in any order. So I could do 5, 7, 6, for example. That would be acceptable. And the black dots need to have one being double the other. Now, there's some mod 3 stuff to think about. So I did a puzzle with all length 3 Renbons a long time ago, where the point was that every one of these needs to have one of each thing mod 3. So a 0 mod 3, a 1 mod 3, and a 2 mod 3 sort of piece. I think we can do something. We can use that to color. So I think we want to color mod 3 here is my guess. And so I want to make a couple observations like that. Every one of these adds to 0 mod 3, and every black dot also adds to 0 mod 3. So we've got that fact. So this is all divisible by 3. By the way, a black dot adds to something divisible by 3 just because x plus 2x is 3x. I was thinking I was going to know that this digit was the same color as those, but it's the same color as one of these two, but I don't quite know which one yet. These 3 certainly do that. Yes, and a Sudoku box is certainly divisible by 3 as well. Okay, so here we go. So here's box 4 is going to let us get our coloring started. That digit, whatever modularity it is, I know that these 2 are the other 2 modularities, and these are one of each of the others, so this is the same modularity as that. So that's true. And likewise, you could do exactly the same thing. This is the same modularity as that, but I don't know if it happens to be green or not. If I look at these columns together, maybe I'll know. I think that probably tells me something, but I don't quite see what it is. Okay. The point is, this is definitely 0 mod 3. That's the point. So I know that if I sort of put all of this together, this is certainly 3, 6, 9. Because, again, the sum of these 3 is divisible by 3, and this one's already divisible by 3, so that one's divisible by 3. Carl wants to look at all of these boxes together, which if we do, and then we sort of peel off all of these pieces that we know are divisible by 3, then we actually learn that this cell is divisible by 3, and so it has to be 3. This black dot has to be 3, 6. That's very clever to look at that all together. That's very cool. I like that. Okay, so yeah, so the whole point was if I look at all of this, actually this cell gets isolated and becomes 3, 6. Because every length 3 Renbon both sums to a multiple of 3 and contains one of each digit mod 3 ranks. So I am attempting to color mod 3. I don't know if I'm going to successfully color mod 3 or not. But we will attempt to see this. So these are both not 0 mod 3. If I just attempt to color 0 mod 3, I could do something like these both aren't 0 mod 3. So let me try that just briefly. So we're going to delete those for a moment. These are 0 mod 3. And these are definitely not 0 mod 3. These are definitely not 0 mod 3. And the way I know that is because each of these needs one of 3, 6, and 9 on it. So we've got that there. Let's see if I can do this if I can extend this at all. These can't be 0 mod 3 because I know I need one of the numbers that's 0 mod 3 there. Let's see. It may be that this is not a useful exercise. Oh, one of these is 0 mod 3 for sure, because that one isn't. And so, therefore, this is not 3, 6. There we go. That's the point. If this is 3, 6, then we've used all of our 0 mod 3 numbers, and we still have to make this renbon work. So those are not 0 mod 3 for sure. And we've used one there, one here. So exactly one of these is 0 mod 3. I think that's the kind of logic that we're going for. I know there's one in this column and there's one there. So one of these two is 0 mod 3, but I also knew that just by looking at the renbon. Yeah, right. There's definitely one of these is 7, 8, 9. That's certainly true. I don't know. It might or might not be useful to think about that. I don't know yet. So I do know that this is from 1, 2, 4, 8 for what it is worth. Okay, so that's a good spot from Josh. Between the cells I have highlighted, and in fact these cells as well, that's exactly 4 things that are 0 mod 3. So there needs to be 2 more, which are there and there, which means that neither of these has room for a 0 mod 3 thing. So those are both not 0 mod 3. So now we're down to that has a 0 mod 3 thing for sure. So one of these is 0 mod 3 and one of these is 0 mod 3, but I don't quite know what to do with the rest of that stuff yet. Let's see. Sayori wants me to think about what happens if this is a 3, which is bad, because if this digit is a 3, it makes these a 1-2 pair, which is a problem because then both of these renbon have a 3. Because if this is a 3, I can't put a 1 or a 2 on either of these. So therefore, this is actually a 6 and a 3. And we'll bring out Zach for the 6 dance. Boop, boop, boop. Wop, 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 wop. Boop, boop, boop. Wop, 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 wop. Boop, boop, boop. Wop, wop, wop. Boop, 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 boop. Thank you, Zach. Thank you. Much appreciated. So we have these are now, because we know there's a 7, 8, 9 on one of these. So these are all from 1, 2, 4, 5 for what it is worth. So I'm trying to figure out something interesting here. This is a 4. It certainly can't. This renbon certainly can't have both 4 and 2 on it, because that would break this black dot quite a bit. Oh, right. So now this one's not 7, 8, 9. Wait. I think I cheated, didn't I? Sorry. My pencil marks were not correct, is the problem. These are from 1, 2, 4, 5. That one, though, when I said I know the 7, 8, 9 are gone, that was one of the cells that the 7, 8, 9 are gone to. So, yeah, that does not work. So these two are 1, 2, 4, 5. Is the thing I actually know. And so that actually uses the 3 and the 6 in the column, if you think about it. So these, so I need a mod 3 number for each of these, as Simon says, and I have now internalized. So the 3 and the 6 are gone here. And that means there's a 9 in this column down here, of all things. Now, I don't know if that 9's actually on this Renbon or not, but I do know one of those 3 is a 9. And so that is worth noting. Yes, this is a 1-2 pair. That's a good thing to note because of that 3. That is very wise. So these are from 1, 2, 3, 4. And this one actually sees a 1-2 pair. So this cell's definitely 3 or 4 because it sees both of those, both that 1 and that 2. And so there's definitely a 3 on here for what it is worth. Okay. So we've got all of that. So yeah, so there's a 1, 2, 3, 4 somewhere in this box. I can only put one of the 1, 2 here. So I have to bury. In fact, I just can't put a 2 over here, right? Yeah, these just can't be 2 is the easier way to say this. If I make either of these 2, then where does the 1 go in the box? Not on a Renbon, so it would go over here. So in fact, just one of these just is 1. But now the 2 in the box goes on a Renbon and makes it 2, 3, 4. But Sayori's point is this can no longer be the 2, 3, 4. So therefore, this is the 2, 3, 4. And these are in fact 1, 5. And this is in fact the 7, 8, 9. Okay. So one of these is 2, 3. And then the other is from 4, 6, 7. So these are in total from 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, if I want to make it work out. Oh, could they be? Maybe, sorry, I think you're right. I think they could be a 4, 5 pair, right? But they still can't have a 2 in them. Sorry, you're right. But that means the 2 does go on a Renbon, and it's still true that the 2 can't go on this Renbon. So the 2 goes on this Renbon, which makes this from 1, 2, 3, 4. And that gives me a bizarre quintuple. So these are still from 7, 8, 9, even though that was not quite true. Okay, and this one definitely has the 2 and the 3 on it. Hey, Ballfly, I hope you are doing well. Let's see. And it's definitely true one of these 2 is a 5, which means that one of all of these is a 5, which means that one of these is a 5. We might as well mark for the future. And of course, whichever one has the 5, it also has the 4 in this box, because the 4 needs to go somewhere. So yeah, and we know I don't think I immediately see which of these is 4, 5, 6, but one of them is 4, 5, 6. Hey, Garian, I hope you're doing well. Yeah, I know one of those 2 is yellow. I don't quite know what to do with that yet. Yeah, there's a 4 over here. That's a good spot. Yeah, just looking at this column, where does the 4 go? The 4 can only go in this column. So this certainly can't be the 4, is Kurabon's point, because if this was the 4, now the 5 in the column's over here, so it'd have to go 2, 3. But that would leave this being 1, 4, and that's not possible, because only one of 1 and 4 is on this Renbon. So that's not the 4, in fact. So now if this is the 5, it would go 5, 6, 7, but that's probably possible. as far as I am able to tell. Let's see. Uh, uh, let's see. Gary says if this was 2-4, you couldn't put 2-1s in the first two columns. Things that are divisible by 3 are yellow. Things that are definitely not divisible by 3 are gray, is my current coloring, Paul Fly. Because every one of these length 3 Renbon needs to have 1 yellow and 2 gray on it. I might subcolor the gray at some point, depending. Yes. So Garian's point is every one that I use on one of these Renbon comes with a 2. And I need 2 1s and 2 2s in these columns. So these are either 1 2 or 4 8. Those are the two options. It's never 2 4. And if these are 4 8, then I have to be actually 4 8. I think would work because I could just make this the 9, right? I think that would be okay. Gray is not 3. That's true. This is definitely not 3. Oops, sorry, I hit the wrong button. This is definitely not 3. So one of these definitely is 3, I suppose I should say. Okay, so Garion wants us to contemplate the existence of 9 in box 1. And note that the 9 is either here or it's there. But I don't quite see what to do with that yet. Tallcat has a look ahead about something in box 4, but it looks like it's a pretty long look ahead. I do know that these are either both yellow or neither is yellow. That was the first thing I did when I started the puzzle. Uh, 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 so if this is 9... Okay, so if this is 9, then these are 8, 7. And then the point is, that means none of these have a 9 on them, which means that's a 9, but it breaks. That's 3 steps, but it's not horrendous. It's pretty bad. If this is a 9, these are 8, 7, which ruins any of these being 7, 8, 9 and makes this Renbon 7, 8, 9, but it has a 1, 4, 5 on it is the point. So this just can't be the 9, which means that the digit on here that's is actually a 9, or the 9 in the box is actually here, which means the 8 is gone, because of course that means this is 7, 8, 9, and that one's not the 9. And we've said it can't be 2, 4. So this is 1, 2. That's not 9 and is gray now. That's not 1. So we've got that. Those are 1, 2. Okay, so now we've got... There's a 6 now on this Renbon just by Sudoku, if you look at it. One of those is now a 6. And so we have that. And so if there's a 6 there, there's not a 3, which means one of these two has a 3 on it. For sure. has a 6 and not a 7. So, right. So it is 4, 5, 6, you can actually say. But we don't quite know anything about exactly what is happening with it. That number goes down here. So we know that these are actually from 3, 4, 5, if you want. Because that 4, 5, where does it go in box 1? It has to go down here. And that actually does let me corner mark a 9 in this row over here. And so that means something, maybe, possibly. Okay, I'm being asked to mark that these are not 8 or 9. And so in particular, actually, if you look at it, they can't get to 9. So the mod 3 number that's included in this mess is a 6. So somewhere in here, there is a 6. Because I only get one mod 3 number here. And so one of these has a 6. But now the question is, where's the 9 in the box? And the 9 in the box definitely goes with a 7 and an 8 now. So there's no 7 there. These, if either of these is yellow, it can only be a 9 because the 3 and the 6 are gone. Okay, so the 9 in the box, Sayori points out, can't go here because this would be 7, 8, 9, and that would be a 7, 8, 9 quadruple in the column. So in fact, we actually get that this is our 7, 8, 9. That's actually our 9. So this cell is now gray. We have a 7, 8 pair in the row. We do not allow 7, 8, 9 quadruples. This is true. So now the question is, where's the 3 in the box? The 3 in the box is now definitely on here for what it's worth. That's true. That does place the 9 in this box now. Because if I look at this, the 9 now can't go here because it would go with a 7 or an 8, but it can't. So that's the 9. Good. Like that. Yes, there are multiple places where we are not allowed to put a 7, 8, 9 quadruple. That 6, by the way, looks down and says this isn't a 6. So actually, this cell is definitely gray. And now I think that's possibly exciting. Maybe not quite exciting. It's almost exciting. Two grays on that Renbon now. Oh, yes, yes, yes. 2 grays on this Renbon. Beautiful. Yep, both of these are gray now. So that has to be yellow because we need a yellow digit. And we know the yellow digit here is a 3. Good. Which has now made that digit gray. Good. So now the 6 that's here is definitely there and not here for so many reasons. So yeah, so there's a 6 over here. Which does not go with 1 or 2, spoiler. So this is also 4, 5, 6. And so this digit, if you look at it, it can only be 1, 2, 3 because it sees 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is 1, 2, 3 here. Right. And now that's all the yellows in column 3. So these are gray, which makes that yellow. For sure. And now this is certainly not a 9. So this can only possibly be a 3 or a 6. Because if it were a 9, this would be a 7, 8 quadruple in the column, which sounds like a disaster. There is, in fact, a 1 or a 2 here, actually, if you look at the column. Where are the 1 and 2 in column 1? The 1 and the 2 in column 1. Well, one of them can go here, but one of them definitely goes here. And 1 and 2 don't go on a length 3 Renbon with a 6. So that's definitely a 3. Which places this 3 up here, actually. And so that is a gray. Let's see. Okay, so we've got that. Uh, so yeah, just because there's a 1 or a 2 on here, I know that these are from 1 to 4. However, uh, if this is 2, 4, we have a really big problem with the box. Uh, Namely, if these are 2, 4, I mean, I guess here's the easier way. It's 1, 2, 4, and it definitely has a 2. Where's the 1 in this box now? Given that the 1 is not going on a Renbon without a 2, the 1 in the box now goes here. That's a little easier to me than the chat approved method of doing this, which was to do something with the column, but either way works. And so we can officially catch up that 4, 5 and that 4, 5. And so now this is not a 1 anymore, if you look at it, because 1, 3, 4, 5 is not an approved Renbon. So now we have that going on there. And now we ask where 1 goes in box 2, and the only place for 1 to go in box 2 is on this, so these can't be 4 anymore, because the 1 has to go with a 2, or there's a 4, 5 pair if you prefer, and want to ruin all of my fun. Yes, now this is a triple, so now these just are 1, 2, 3. And that's a 1, 2, 3 triple in column 1, for what it is worth. So the 3 is now in one of those two cells. So this cell is not a 3, so it's gray. And the 3 in this box is now in one of these two cells. So that cell is gray, just by sort of chasing 3s and continuing the Sudoku. So that means the yellow digit on this Renbon is a 6. So that aligns. And I need a 7 and an 8 in this box, actually. And if I ask where the 7 and 8 are going, well, they're not going with a 3. So in fact, this is 6, 7, 8. And now this is 3, 4, 5. You can actually figure out. And that one's not the 3. Okay, and so the 6 in this 6, 7, 8 triple is down here. So that's actually not the 6. And so that's not the 6 again. So in fact, these two can be relished if we want. And this isn't a 6 either because of this 6 looking up. So that is not a 6, which actually makes this the yellow 6. Makes this the gray, makes this the anti-ketchup, if you will. Like that is the anti-ketchup. Okay, that 4, 5 pair means that's not a 5, which means this Renbon has a 5 on it. So it does not have a 9 on it. So where is the 9 in the box? The 9 in the box is here, which makes this 7, 8, 9. That one's not the 9, so it's gray. That makes this 4, 5, 6. And in fact, actually, there's a 4, 5 pair in the column. This just is the 6. So these are 4, 5. We can look at that. Let's see. Row 6, I am being pointed out, has a 1, 2 pair. Thank you, Ranks. So that is the location of the 3. And that is a 4, which now makes that the location of this 3, which now makes that a 2, which makes that a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 5 and a 4. That was quite profitable, exactly as Ranks promised it would be. So we've got all of that. And so there is a 9 in these cells. There is a 6 in these cells. And so this cell is gray. Because if you just look at it, this digit certainly sees 3, 6, and 9 now. So in fact, actually, all of these are gray, is what I've just said. I guess I knew that if I corner marked the 9 here as well. But now that means the 9 is not there, because now this is a 7, 8, 9. And that one's not the 9, so that is gray. So we've got all of that happening. That is, in fact, relish. And so relish is actually on one of these renbon. If you just look by Sudoku, relish is on one of these renbon, but anti-relish isn't. So exactly one of 7, 8, and 9 is on one of these renbon. Well, it can't be the 8 because the 8 would require a 7. So in fact, it is the 7. So relish is actually 7, which makes anti-relish 8, makes that the 7. No 7s there. We can knock off all of those. That becomes also 7. It was relish the whole time. We just didn't realize it. Oops. And by we, I'm guessing 6 people in chat pointed it out and I didn't notice. No 7s over there. Okay, so now this is a 1 or a 2. But we have a similar problem if this is a 2. Which is that if this is a 2, then where's the 1 in the box on a renbon somehow inexplicably without a 2? So in fact, that's the 1. So that's the 2 and the 1. We get to do all of that. And so one of these is 2, 3, 4, and one of them is 5, 6, 7. The 7 in the row is up here. It's not there. It's not in these cells. So one of these two is a 7. Yeah, so one of those two is a 7. These cells are from 4, 5, 6. And so, sorry, 4, 5, 6, and what? 2, 4, 5, 6, actually. 2, 4, 5, 6. So 7 goes with 6 and 5. So if this is a 7, then I need these two to be a 5, 6 pair, which would make those a 2, 4 pair. I think this works either way, doesn't it? I think it's probably better to look elsewhere for now. So, for example, I can fill in this triple now and say that these are 1, no 8, no 9. These are 1, 6, 7 for this triple. Well, certainly there's not a 1 on it if these are from 1, 6, 7. So actually that is the 6, that is the 7, that is the 1. And this can only be 5 or 8, but we can go ahead and continue our coloring over here. Gray, gray. Okay, so this is 5 or 8. I don't know which one yet. I don't believe. Oh, this is gray for sure. So we've got all of that. Okay. So now there's a 7 down here. Well spotted by Screaming Ice Cube that one of these is a 7 just by pure Sudoku alone. Kurobon spots that 1 in box 6 is in fact here, which makes this a naked single, actually. Because it's not an 8 or a 5 or a 9. So this is a naked single 2, in fact. So that is no longer a 2. Let's see. So now 1 in this box. Is it a problem if this is a 1, 2, 3? If this is a 1, 2, 3, that's the 3, that's the 1, and that's the 2. That probably is what happens, actually. If I were to guess. Yes, actually, it is. Well, I know where the 3 is in this box, because the 3 is not on a renbon with a 7. So by Sudoku, where does 3 go? Only here. So that's a 3. These are both gray. Which makes that a 3, makes that gray. Makes it a 4, 5. Now, these are from 1, 2, 4, 5, of course. That one's not a 4, that one's not a 1. For whatever it is worth. So now 3 is placed in box 3. So now we're going to finally sort out where the 7 is, because the 7 doesn't go on top of the 3. So that is the 3. That is the 7. which means the 3 assuredly goes with the 2, because remember the 2 in this box is on a 2, 3, 4 Renbon, which is this Renbon now. And these are both gray, by the way. So this has to go 2, 4. This is a 5 or a 6. This is not a 4. This is not a 2. Oh, this is now a 7. Per earlier Sudokuage. So we've got all of that. And in fact, one of these is a 6 just by Sudoku. Actually, this is a 6 just by Sudoku, actually. Because the 5, 6 pair looking down, this is a 6 by Sudoku. So this is 5 or 8. Which is going to do massive amounts because now we have a 5, 8 pair in this row. So in particular, oh, that's going to do just shit tons. Because that 5, 8 pair means this isn't a 5 anymore. So this Renbon has a 1 or a 2 on it and a 4 or a 5 on it. Well, that means it's got a 2 and a 4. But the 5, 8 pair also means that this is a 4 and that's a 5, which means that's a 5 and that's a 4, which resolves all of this nonsense up here. Now there's going to be too many things to do all at once, because now we can basically do everything. So that 5, 8 pair did all of the work effectively. So now that is a 6. Oops, is a 6. Possibly. Is a 6. That cell is gray now. We can bork that. These cells are all gray. This is the only spot. Sorry, this is not gray. This is the only spot in this row for a 9 now. Our coloring makes clear. So that is a 9, which makes that, oops, gray, 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 and that yellow, 8 and 9. That cell is gray because we've got all the ones for the box. This cell is gray because we've got all the ones for this Renbon. One of these two is now a 9. One of these two is now a 9. Okay, so now we've got to probably mark... Oh, sorry, we've got more damage to do up here, actually. So that is an 8, and that's a 9. And now we can probably mark the rest of the grid. And so if we do that, we'll see the value of some of our things. So this is our yellow for this column, which just Sudoku-logically makes that yellow, makes that gray Renbon-logically, which makes that yellow Sudoku-logically. And so now we have finished our coloring, and I guess we can get rid of our X's. Oops. Oops. And an 8. Lovely idea. I don't know if my color the things that are divisible by 3 strategy was actually ever particularly useful. I think it got me that this was a 3-6 and then did literally nothing else. And I think actually I only started coloring after I got that this was a 3-6. So I'm not actually sure if this mod 3 coloring was actually helpful or not. I admit that, like, I've tried multiple times to make a mod 3 coloring puzzle, and I kind of succeeded once. If you want to dig way back in my archive, Stingray is a mod 3 coloring puzzle that is a lot like this puzzle. In fact, actually, let me just pull up the grid just so you can see that it is a lot like this puzzle in terms of my agenda. I think this puzzle traumatized Ranksk quite a bit when Ranksk did it, and then made it so I never again made a puzzle where it took a long time to disambiguate afterwards. Where is it? I swear it's published on LMD. There we go. Sorry, I just skimmed over it. Here we go. This is my similar puzzle grid. Did this one traumatize Tallcat? I don't remember it traumatizing Tallcat, but it might have traumatized Tallcat before I knew Tallcat. Export. Good lord, opening this in Sudoku Pad took 80,000 clicks. Dang old puzzles. Uh, there we go. Okay. There we go. Okay. Oh yeah, the this is ancient. Oh, Tall Cat thinks we actually talked about this puzzle back in the day, but yeah, you'll see this is similar joke of all length three Renbons, except here I used the weirdo thing of just saying these literally are the same color mod 3. So here you were supposed to color all three colors. Uh, and this was my one attempt at a 2 to 10th style puzzle where you only get to disambiguate quote unquote high and low. You only get to disambiguate the none 258 colors at the very, very end of the puzzle. Because, of course, after you've colored the entire grid, this weird little killer disambiguates it. Which I think I then watched. I then watched Ranks solve this puzzle, and then Ranks got very frustrated by having to keep track of stuff like, oh, I have the yellow 258 and the purple 258 or whatever. It's not exactly that. And so like there's a lot of weirdo coloring that happens from the symmetry because of course the grid is highly symmetrical. Like I think these are the only symmetry breaking things in the entire grid, if I recall correctly. Anyway, I have done this puzzle on stream, so I am not going to do it again. But it just I was very reminded of this at the end. Yeah, I think now I would kind of even be in the Garian camp of just screw it and guess, and if you're wrong, just say good enough at the end of the thing. It's funny, I was so excited about the letter tool that I immediately set a puzzle entirely to be done with the letter tool. And then Simon solved it and didn't use the letter tool. And then I decided that I personally did not like using the letter tool. And so I did not. I should be clear. I don't dislike the letter tool. I think it's fine for people to use it. I think Sven has put a lot of thought into how to making it usable. I just do not personally enjoy using it. But Renbon modular line, but it can't be both. That is fun. I'm very into ambiguity puzzles with the strict rule that you cannot be both. You missed me doing this puzzle by Mormogli, Nell, which had a whole bunch of length 3 Renbon, and so I was then reminiscing about my puzzle with a bunch of length 3 Renbon. I guess you can really tell this puzzle's old because the Renbon are gray. So the Renbon the Renbon in this puzzle predate, and I admit I debated whether or not to make up a portmanteau of Renaissance and Renbon, but I couldn't decide whether it would be horrible or not. So make up your own portmanteau of Renbon and Renaissance in the chat, and we can see if we like them or not. But anyway, I think stream is going just a little bit longer. I think I'm going to do a 6x6 probably and call it good for stream there. But there are a bunch of 6x6s that have come in, I believe. So let's see. Now, my 6x6 thing ends up being a bit messy at times because a lot of my 6x6s come from people setting adventure puzzles for Ranks, and then the puzzles are too hard, which is a very relatable thing because it happens to me all the time. But then that means that my 6x6s, which was originally intending to be able to do in a few minutes at the end of the stream. Well, definitionally, if that were true, it would be a good adventure puzzle. And so that is not true. And so often these end up being a little on the harder side for 6x6s. By the way, there is a rumor that there is a support coming for identifying which 6x6s I have not actually done, which would be cool. Because there, I know, are some older ones that I have not not done. So I have no idea what the rules are of this, but this is by Jay's, and I did several Jay's adventure puzzles when I was teaching my Sudoku course, so I am looking forward to this. Although I admit the adventure puzzle that most stumped me as to what on earth was intended was by Jay's. The thing that was intended, by the way, was completely reasonable. But it is what the Zach Hat emote is for. However, scrolling through it and just looking for ones that don't have a Zach Hat emote is tricky. But Tristan has figured out, I think, how to script a thing to just send me a message of the 6x6s that don't have a Zach Hat emote. I'm hoping this arrow is going to prove to be a 1. Okay, so that reminds me, I still haven't done poor Isaiah's Perdoku. Oh god, poor Isaiah. Isaiah said a Perdoku for Tris and I, like, for our anniversary, like, I don't know, like 4 months ago or something that I still have to do. Isaiah has been very polite about only reminding us once a month that we have not done it. But at some point, we will, in fact, actually do it. Okay. What do we need to do? We need to divide the grid into orthogonally connected clumps that sum to 9. Digits may not repeat in a clump. Digits with an arrow point to another cell in the same clump. And digits on a gray circle are odd. Digits in a white circle indicate the number of cells in that clump. Right. I think Paulfly and I have a like partially constructed 10 clumps puzzle for adventure that did not work. So these are in the same. Okay. And all it is they point to arrows in the same clump. There's nothing about the digit. The digit is irrelevant. Okay. So these two are in the same clump. That had better be in the same clump because otherwise that single cell sums to 9. And that means by numbers that these are one single 9 clump. Digits in a circle give the number of cells in that clump. So this is either 2 or 3. In fact, all white circles are 2 or 3. So these two are in the same clump, and this is adorable. These two are in the same clump, but this can't be a 2, because if this were a 2, it would make that a 7. So this has to be a 3, right? I did that right. Right. If this were a 2, that would be a 7. So this has to be a 3. Right. In fact, yeah, every circle has to be a 3. It's true. What Garian says is correct. Every circle, the same exact argument applies. Because every circle, if it were a 2, it would need to go with a 7. So all of these are 3. And so now, as Sayori... Oh, was this on Adventure? Or was this a like harder than Adventure 6x6 ranks? So Sayori's point is this 9 is not a 1, 3, 5 or a 2, 3, 4. So this is in fact a 1, 2, 6. So those are a 4, 5. If we have a look at that. Oh, we can do a dance. We don't traditionally do a dance on 6x6s, but I will let Zach dance for this 3. Woo! 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 Thank you, Zach. Thank you. Just makes the dance even more special that Zach doesn't usually dance for those. That's true. Okay, so this is a 3, and that is a 3. Okay, these two are in the same clump. These two are in the same clump, and digits don't repeat within clumps, so it's not the same one as that one. These two are in the same clump, and a clump can't have 4 things in it, so this is definitely yet another clump. And again, a clump can't have 4 digits in it, so this is a new clump. This 4, 5 really wants to be a 2-cell clump, but I haven't yet sort of figured out exactly what is happening with it. This orange finishes here, has been called. Good call. People kept saying orange grows, and I was like, well, I'm sure it does, but I don't see how. But yes, this orange was 3 cells by definition. So these two are either 1, 2, sorry, they're from 1, 2, 4, 5. And so that is sort of a 1, 2 virtual pair in the column. So this is a 4, 5, 6, if we would like. At least one of these is a 4, 5, I see. These circles are from 1, 5 only. I think I have all the remaining 3s, Todd. Let's see. Okay. This cell cannot join green, because if this cell joins green, we have problems, which are that both 4 and 5 only go in a 3-cell clump with a 3. So this is not green, so it is its own thing. Because the circle is the number of cells in the clump, Kuraban. I just argued this is its own clump. So now this 3-cell clump needs to take that cell. So it's being claimed there's a negative constraint on white circles. So that negative constraint on white circles indeed does mean this 3 needs to go with a 6. So this 3 is not part of either of these regions. And one of these is a 6, which means that's not a 6. Which means that one of these is a 6, so that's not a 6. This 3 again goes with 1, 2, 4, 5. Funnily enough, I think the Jay's adventure puzzle that tricked me was about coloring 1, 2, 4, 5 combos. Oh, it was about coloring arrows to an arrow that summed to 5 or 6. That's what it was, and I figured out some really, really horrible way to do it, rather than the very elegant way to do it that was intended. I recall now. It all comes back to me. There's a border here. This can't be a 2-cell sum because it's not 3, 6 and it's not 4, 5, because 4, 5 and 3, 6 are the only 2-cell sums to 9. So therefore that is part of yellow, and therefore that is the 6 over there. If I do that. So now this is its own clump by the negative constraint. And now this is its own clump by geometry. And ergo, it is a 4, 5, which means that's not 4, 5, which means this is 4, 5 for what it is worth. That is a 6 just by Sudoku on 6s, which makes these a 1, 2. We may get to do some coloring here. Just hold out for a moment. Let's see. There's a 1, 2 pair in this column. Makes that not 1 or 2, which means this is 1 or 2. People are pointing out. Let's see. And so the 1, 2 and box 6 are now here. So these are 4, 5, 6. This can't be a 6. So, yeah, this can't be a 6, because if this was a 6, what would I put above it? And there's no way I could make 1, 2, because it would break that cell. Oh, no, sorry. This could be a 6, because I could put a 1, 2 above and below it. Sorry, never mind. I'm talking nonsense. Oh, in fact, it is the 6, because there's... Oh, this could be 6, 1, 2, can't it? Is there a reason this can't be 612? This 3 assuredly takes the thing above it. Because if it doesn't take the thing above it, what is it taking? Oh, I guess, sorry, never mind. It could do that. Never mind. Sorry, I'm saying nonsense again. Oh, right. It's the negative constraint on 3 here, because this 3 needs a 6. So that's not the 6. And so actually, if you look at the column, this is the 6. And so it needs to go with a 1, 2. So certainly it therefore needs a 1, 2 above it. But now that means this is a 5. So 5, spoiler, not 1 or 2. So therefore that's the 1, 2 coming over down here. So that's the 4 and that's the 5. So this digit is now known. It is a 4. 3, 4, 5 is too big. Could be 3, 1, 5 though, and 4, 5 perhaps. That 1, 2 does make this a 5. That's true, which makes that a 4 and that a 5. This 3 cannot join the clump with a 5 because if it does, it would need a 1, but there's no 1 left in the column. In fact, actually, this is just known to be a 4 for the column, and those add to 9 already. So let's purple our way around here. So we have purpled there. Okay, so this cell always takes this cell, Eckbert points out, because if we just sort of locked this off from taking that, it would take a 4, and then it would take a 5, and that would be bad. So these are definitely friends. And they're friends with one more of these, but we don't know which one yet, I don't think. These are from 1 to 6, for whatever that is worth. This is also from 1 to 6. That one's not a 6, though. That one's from 1 or that one's really only 1 or 2. This can't be a 6 actually, because 6 would make it already work. So that's a 1-2 pair that actually makes that a 6. That forces this to be a domino. It can be orange because there's no orange in the neighborhood. So no 6 there. So that is a 6. No 6 there. Well, this can't take a second 1-2 because 3-1-2 is not a combo that I can add anything to. So this is now in a new region, and so the new region does that. We can make it blue, I guess. And the region ends because the 9 clump has at most that many cells, which now at long last gets us that. And now this is its own little green spot. And now yellow finishes there. And now we have a little bit of algebra to do to finish off the puzzle. So 1, 2, 5, 4, 1, 5, 2, 1. Very nice little puzzle there, Jays. I quite enjoyed that. Neato use of this sort of clumping constraint. Alrighty, and the arrows ended up being quite cute in terms of sort of figuring out the geometry of what was happening. Alrighty, I am going to wrap up stream there for today. Thank you to everyone for watching. I hope you had a good time. I had a good time with the puzzles today. There were a bunch of cool stuff. A bunch of very smooth puzzles overall. Actually, from start to finish, everything we did was very smooth. And thank you, everyone who supports the stream financially. I know I say it every time, and so it gets a bit repetitive, but I really do appreciate all of you who take the time and money to support the stream. It really does help us keep going. If you want to support the stream financially and you've considered doing it but haven't yet, you can always do it by clicking the join button down below. You can support us for as little as $5 a month and get stuff like the cool green screen name and the ever-growing windmill next to your name, and all the Zach emotes that you see in chat. So thank you very much for everyone who does that. I should also mention we have a bunch of people who support us on Patreon or other places, and so YouTube does not give you credit for supporting us on Patreon. We do appreciate it, and to recognize those people, we do put their names on all of the screens that you see that go by during breaks. So you can thank those people as well. So if you can't support the stream, that's totally okay. But please thank those people who do, who keep everything running. We greatly appreciate it. And even if you don't have the money, you can always click the thumbs up button. Clicking the thumbs up button is greatly appreciated because it feeds the YouTube gods and saves a virgin from being sacrificed. So thank you to all of you who do that. And thank you, last but not least, to all the turbines, the people who really give a lot to help us keep going. So Daniel, Danita, David, Franco, Nell, Nordy, and Plonktime. Thank you very much. That's all for now, but I'll see you all soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. I did not successfully hit the button. Let's try again.